And I think we're live. Welcome everyone to the show. Just waiting for YouTube to catch up. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. It looks like we're in. Awesome. Welcome everyone. Great to have you all here. Just want to say hi to everyone in the chat. We've got Pilot Style, Tom, Edward, Ashmore, Jean-Claude. Geez, lots of names. Mohammed, Clive, William, Chili Prepper, Nylan, Blue Shirt. Hi everyone. James Con. There's so many people in the chats already starting the show without me. Great to have you all here. Awesome. How's your week been? I hope you're all doing well. Let me know if you can hear me fine. Just comment 1 and that'll be good and we can get the show on the road. Talking about stealth watches. Should be a lot of fun. Just making sure that everything is clear. Awesome. So you can hear me. That's fantastic. Okay, sweet. Welcome. There's already 20 of you here. We're starting out quick. Awesome. Okay. So we're talking about stealth watches today. This came by coincidence. The other night I was sitting down thinking, wouldn't it be cool to talk about watches that managed to go under the radar? I've actually put some time in and made a little list of how you could best define stealth watches, which will be a lot of fun. We can do that in a second. But as the streams normally begin, as this year has started, we start with the Live 5. A selection of watches that have somehow influenced me during the week that we can briefly run through, get my head into the space. I don't normally discuss watches or do any watch-related work over the weekend, so this is my time to get my head in and just wake up to the discussion. Okay, and as that's going on, just want to say hi to everyone in the chats. It's good that you can all hear me. That's superb. Let's see. Once again, if you want to grab me and get my attention really easily, highly suggest you tag me at IDGuy in the chat. I'll be able to see you a lot faster. So we have Terry, Raymond, R4N, Paul, artist, I'll say, Nick, Mr. C, howdy from Texas. Great to have you all here. So cool. So a lot of fun. This last week has been very cool. Began with talking about faux patina on watches, which was a nice change of pace, and then talking about the Moser, which we will talk about now because it's in the video. And it's amazing how divided the community's opinion was of the piece. So it should be a lot of fun to talk about in a bit more detail. If you haven't seen the video, it came out on Thursday. It's pretty biased. I was kind of biased in the sense that I gave it a lot of praise because I thought the watch made quite an impact. But there is a lot, that's like a 50-50 split, which is quite impressive. So we can talk about that in a second. Just want to catch up with everyone else. Cheetown, thank you so much for the super chat. Great to have you here. Blue Shirt, Morgan from Denmark, Oliver, welcome. Paul, thank you. It's so cool. It's great to have you all here. I hope you've all had a superb start of the weekend and great week. It's been pretty productive this side of the world. Tonight I'm drinking a Shiraz instead of turpentine from last week, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, we're going to get into it. Start with the Live 5, as we always do. And quite a varied selection of pieces. All of these watches had some kind of influence over the week. This is a very obscure Patek Philippe, but it is something really cool. It's the reference 5959. Oh, before that, if you are rewatching the show or if you are in the live chat at the moment, I'm going to be pasting all of the serial numbers of these pieces in. So if you're keen to look them up, here they are, and you'll see them now. Sweet. First reference, Patek 5959, the first double split chronograph from the family. And it was introduced in the early 2000s. I made a video about this watch this week. Should be coming out early next week. And amazing. Such an awesome, awesome piece. It's only 33 mils in size, considering that it has a lot of history behind it, in fact. It was a very important piece. It's one of, they say, top 10 most important pieces that Patek Philippe has made in recent years, because it incorporated their first in-house double split movement. Very collectible. I think the case is in platinum. Love the Breguet styling, the up-down simplicity. 33 mils, and if you had to see the case back of this piece, absolute mind blow. So more people in the show. Chip Wong, Pilot Style, said hi again. Bud the Stud, welcome. Morgan, Sean. I have to say your first names just to get it through, quickly. Tim, welcome. Matthew from New Zealand, great to have you here. Tippy, so cool. Phil, Martin, so cool. Finally caught on the live show. Yeah, it's awesome. It seems like I miss a lot of you because, you know, we're all over the world and time is a thing. It's relevant. So really interesting little watch, and I look forward to sharing this with you next week. And the nice thing about this is that the direct development from this reference was the 5370, which is the modern double split that we know. So that's pretty cool. Next, we have the Patek Philippe Nautilus White. Someone already mentioned in the comments that this watch has been discontinued recently. And it's quite a shame because it really is cool. If of all the Nautili available, I think this one is such a steal, I'll say, just because it's so different. White dial, almost like a polar-esque format. Too cool. And the reason why I call it stealth, we can get into that in a second. Like I've said earlier, I created a list to define what we could consider stealth. Next, we have a Breguet 3137, if I remember the reference right. And this came courtesy of the Watch Wrangler, Clive Watch Wrangler. Yes, it is. It's a 3137. This watch became available for him, or to him, recently. I was very keen on getting it, and he sent me some awesome pictures. It's such a killer piece, and it's a real grail watch. But instead, I think he settled on a Batgirl GMT. So it's awesome. So I really like it. I think the layout is awesome. There's a question talking about value, not so stealth. No, damn, this is nothing to do with the actual subject tonight by any means. This is just to do with various watches that influenced me over the week. Okay, next we have the Moser Streamliner. Now, very divided opinion. I was actually blown away by how it was so split down the middle by the looks of things. I thought it was really cool. I think it's really interesting that they take the approach in a different way. I try and word that in the video. I talk about the development of the line and how they're taking inspiration from 70s motifs, but doing it in a bit of a different way. There's been suggestions on that I look at the Breguet, the Omega Chronostop. I'm trying to read the comments while I'm going. Mohammed saying the 5711 is not stealth. Yeah, we can talk about that now. So interesting watch. I think the development of the movement is amazing. I love the seamlessness, the shape of the case, the approach, highlights, all those details. We'll just see where it goes. There's only 100 of these being made, and I'd love to get some hands-on time with this in the future. It was amazing. Some representatives of Moser reached out to me to thank me for the video. And it was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed making it. And then next on our list, in the same breath with Pateks and Mosers and everything on the list, we have the new Seiko Alpinist. So I've just finished a write-up on the Alpinist, which I hope to have out next week, Thursday. And this is the latest refresh they've done to the line. And I think it's the best thing they could have done to the Alpinist. The previous generations with the green dial and the gold numerals, I will address it in the video. The write-up's finished, the recording needs to happen, and it'll be together. But this watch pays very good tribute to 60s-inspired Alpinists. And what I try and do is run through the development of the line from the 60s all the way through to the modern day. Quite a distinct change. This model, they've reshaped the dial. They've put a Cyclops lens on it. That's open to opinion whether or not you like that. But it looks pretty slick. I'm going to catch up with everyone else in the chats. We've got Bud. Yeah, we've also seen Phil. So cool. I'm the victim, aren't we all? Truth feels guilty. Welcome. Great to have you. So pretty cool. Great start to the show. It's nice running through these pieces, and I'll just pull them all up again. These have nothing to do with the show's relevance at all, talking about stealth and all of that. But I just thought it'd be nice to break the ice and get the discussion going. So that should be cool. Okay, so defining stealth. Let's see what we can do. I literally wrote up this list not 5 minutes before the show started. Stealth watch. So what do we mean when we say stealth? The kind of watch that you can wear virtually incognito. You know, you can go under the radar. No one would really notice it. So the list, A and B. These are just random thoughts. Of course, we can carry on with this, but I think this is a good area to start categorizing, to define it. Brushed or matte surfaces, so less flash. a leather or rubber strap, possibly. White gold, titanium, steel. That's all in that ballpark. I should have mentioned platinum as well. A material that looks very subtle, but not ostentatious and bright and flashy, you know. Simple layout, understated. And then just the second section, I said B, makes enthusiasts think, which I think is quite important. Does not draw attention, subtle, obscure. So there's a very basic list, not recognizable. That's a good line as well. Thank you, Mohammed. In that way, I mean, that's pretty much why I chose the 5711, partly because, yes, it's a Nautilus. I like the idea that it's just been discontinued, so it's something worth talking about as of the 25th of January, 2020. But I think at the same time, it's not your typical Nautilus. It's polarizing, it's peculiar. It's not the kind of thing that your fanboy would go after. It's the kind of watch that is so obscure that only a certain person would be interested in. So it's cool. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the most subtle and stealth watch of all. I think within the Nautilus family, it's pretty stealthy, pretty understated. The polishing, of course, goes against the idea, but really like the contrast. I think it's an interesting watch. So I see a comment from Wristwatch Experience, a Cambridge Dictionary mentioning stealth, movement that is quiet and careful in order not to be seen or heard. That's very good. And that's kind of it. Stealth, incognito. And what does that mean? I think unrecognizable is a very important element. So I don't know why I mentioned the streamliner here. I think I just wanted to carry on the discussion a bit more about it. I love the idea that it doesn't have much flash to it. It's very matte, plain in that way. And then we just jump to other references. Of course, we can't go far without me bringing up the 1655. I think it's just such a killer piece. And in that same way, making the enthusiast think. Of course, there are watch enthusiasts of varying calibers. Everyone knows what a Submariner looks like. Everyone knows what a GMT looks like, possibly. A Speedmaster. So the iconic watches, quote unquote, should be kept under tabs. And that's where you can get watches like the 1655 up. I think the standard Explorer is also one of those pieces that can also really remain understated. And the show tonight is going to be discussing all sorts of brands and watches that you think are both obscure and interesting. So yeah, the thing is, I always seem to bring these watches up, always. I think Explorer is the one line that never ceases to interest me. But it's so un-Rolex. I think that's what appeals to me so much about them. It's not your generic standard layout. And then I brought up the Alpinist. I think this is also a good example. So really, if I bring up the list again, we want that obscurity. We want a simple layout. We want, let's just hide this. Come on, hold on a sec. I want to hide the sidebar. Brushed matte surfaces, possibly a leather or rubber strap, because you want to tone the watch down a lot. You don't want it to be bright and in your face, you know. Depending on the material, you could probably wear a gold watch, no problem, but just in this instance, and then understated, again, makes enthusiasts think. So it should be cool. I'm going to catch up with all of you now in the chat and see where we go. Blue Shirt says, I'm wearing the ultimate under the radar watch, the 214270. Yeah, it is. It's amazing just how much, even though this watch is so hyped up, and I've lost my mouse, even though this watch is so hyped up in the community at large, it still manages to go under the radar all the time. It's pretty amazing, right? When you consider that it's one of the icons of Rolex's family and still manages to just be invisible to the masses. So what I wanted to highlight, so speaking about making enthusiasts think, you get varying levels of enthusiasts, like I said earlier. So the typical enthusiast will talk about GMTs and all the rest. But I think there's some watches out there that manage to skirt, I mean, like the Turnograph, for example. Let's pull up a Rolex Turnograph. Just a standard Datejust or an Air King. Let's see. I have been so busy with making up videos this last week. It's crazy. I've never been so far ahead with making videos before. So it's really cool. Lots of diverse stuff coming out soon. We've got Patek, we've got an Omega Speedmaster Mark II. I don't know why this image is not playing around me. Apologies, I'm just warming up for the evening as always. You know, something like this. I don't think your average Weiss, or whatever you want to call the person, enthusiast, would know what this watch is in first impressions. So it should make for a nice show. And of course, as we get going, as I warm up, we can get to the suggestions of pieces. IWC Blue Pilot Blue Angels, that's cool. Actually, a really sick piece. I think this Nautilus is such a sick watch. Another thing is scale. There was a mention I just saw in the chat about scale. And I think scale is important. You want to have the watch really toned down for the most part. You want it to fly under the radar and not be seen unless, you know, under a suit and all the rest. Okay, more chats for me. So we have my recipe for stealth is size, material, and minute repeater. 34mm platinum. Okay, let's have a look at that pilot style. That sounds awesome. I've always had a fascination to learn about Patek Philippe references. I think it's that kind of thing where as you get further into this hobby and these discussions, you start learning more and more about the simplicity, the subtlety of things. Yeah, so this is an awesome reference. It's a tourbillon minute repeater, so you can't really see much, and this is courtesy of pilot style. Just catching up with everyone else, and we can talk about this reference. Hobby Apple. If Patek Philippe were to introduce a new dial color for the 5711, which would you like to see? There's so much variety. That's a nice question, though. Would be nice to see enamel, actually, just a flat enamel dial on the Nautilus. That might be a good start. Hate to sound like a broken turntable, but the Explorer, Dan. Yeah, I think so. It's one of those watches. Even if you hate Rolex, I don't think you can discredit the Explorer for being so diverse. Platinum equals stealth. Yeah, absolutely. Only you are the one who knows that it is platinum, just by the sheer weight. Grand Seiko we can pull up. There's some cool references in that family. Jeremy's saying the 1016, as crazy as they've gone, like the 1655, are still super under the radar. I love it. I think I've been someone who has perpetuated the appeal for the 1655. It seems like a lot of people are interested in them now. That's it, 1655, not 65. I think any Rolex with a Cyclops is easily recognizable. Curtis, nice to have you here, Curtis. Yeah, I agree. The Cyclops lens is quite a giveaway. So for that reason, we have to get rid of it somehow. There aren't many watches that are without dates. I mean, even just the standard Submariner, for example. I mean, geez, everyone knows the Submariner. You don't have to know Rolex to know what this piece is, whether it's a date model, whether it's no date. It's just everywhere. You see it plastered all over the place. It's quite sad because the watch is very subtle as it is. Not like they are, I mean, super cased and everything else, but in general, it's a very low-key watch unless you know what you're looking for. But there are lots of other examples. Okay, let's see what else is going on. Just scrolling down. It's funny, like sometimes I miss chat, sometimes I'm on the ball. Tippy's mentioning Patek Calatrava. It's a great idea. We can pull that up now. And depending on the color, I think white gold Calatrava is really good. Rolex Explorer, more mentions of that. Thank you, Mr. C. Great to have you here. Tudor Heritage Advisor. Great suggestion, Paul. That's a really nice piece. I love this 5002. If anyone knows Ron the Shrink, he has one of these pieces. He just recently picked it up. It's probably one of the coolest modern iterations of the IWC Pilot. So the reference is the Tudor Advisor. Let's see, Advisor. Once again, waking up to the channel and the show. Got to wait for the Shiraz to kick in. Let's have a look. So the Advisor is a really slick piece, depending on what material and what color you're looking at. Let's check this coffee brown, version. Magic Mouse, it's a wonderful thing. So it's really slick. It's the Advisor with that whole inbuilt alarm system. I think it's such a unique package for a watch. And Tim's asking about the best stealth watch. I think we can slowly but surely go through and talk about that as we develop over the night or morning, wherever you are in the world. Breguet 5177 blue enamel. That is gorgeous. Okay, so we're going to get some of the Rolexes out the way. There's another Breguet that I really thought was cool. 5177. This is a stunning watch. It's quite a vanilla Marmite watch for most, because it is extremely simple. It's even more simple than your standard classique. Blue enamel dial, a newly released piece, if I'm not wrong. It's awesome. Really nice and understated. Just love the clarity, the simplicity behind it. And as we go through, there's another Breguet, just as I'm thinking off the top of my head. And this watch was suggested to me on Instagram. Sometimes you just come across these crazy references. It's a marine titanium. I think it's one of the latest pieces from the Breguet family. I actually want to do a video on this series. I love watches that are introduced as a series. I don't know how res this image is for you, high res, but I think just the standard Breguet Marine has something cool about it. It's going to divide opinion. I mean, the whole idea of putting lume into Roman numerals, it's not for everyone. But in titanium, with an insanely cool movement, very subtle. We've got integrated bracelet. What's another good image to find? Here's blog to watch. I think it's just so clean, simple, has that sporty nature to it, and no one would know it's a Breguet, which is even more cool. Red date wheel is wonderful. I think it is. It's superb, Morgan. I think anything that has a bit of highlight, whether it's the date wheel, whether it's text on the dial, anything that has some kind of accent that pulls your attention, awesome. JLC, Martin mentions, brilliant suggestion. We're going to look at some of those. Speaking of which, I've just done a video on the JLC Sector series. Geez, there's so many references. We can be doing this for the next 3 hours. Whether or not I survive that, I don't know. I think the JLC Sector series is one of the coolest selection, the coolest family of watches that has been released from the group. It's not for everyone. Again, it's either aimed to the enthusiast or aimed to someone who's new to the hobby who wants to get into it. But that chronograph in the center is absolutely beautiful. There are very few chronographs out there that manages to have such a balance to it. So we're going to discuss that now. There's all this question about Yachtmasters 1159. Oh, Chip Wong, it's an absolute masterclass, that watch. Second hour watches. We can pull that up and have a look just now. Geez, so where do we begin? Tudor Advisor. Start from left to right. The Tudor Advisor is so slick. Depending on the color, I think it works the most effectively in either black or like a coffee brown. Highlights, once again, it has the highlights there. You can set the alarm wherever you want. And an alarm is a lot more effective than a diving bezel in most situations, right? It lets you, the thing is, you need to determine the time before using it. It doesn't work as a count. It does. It works as a better countdown timer than a counting forward timer, if you know what I mean. Neo, welcome to the show. AN, Nomos Club, that'll be cool. Scott, welcome. Watches and Giggles, great to have you here. So, Tudor Advisor is awesome. Love the balance. I think Tudor has hit the nail on this. And this was a recreation of a 60s piece. Very interesting. And as we go through the list, let's talk about the Patek 3939 first. I think this was Pilot Style who mentioned this. So what makes it unique? It has barely anything on display. So casual, subtle, but it is a tourbillon and it is a minute repeater. And it's got the Breguet hands, the Breguet numerals. Simple. It's one of the most valuable watches in the family, if I'm not wrong. It is extremely, extremely well done, depending on what metal you'd like. I mean, gold looks amazing. It doesn't really fit in the stealth category, but geez, this thing is just absolutely sublime. There's a series of watches in the Patek family that really need our attention, and I hope over the next few months to get into more details about the perpetual calendars and all of those details. Okay, I see a super chat from Paul. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really, really appreciate it. And it's great to have you all here. Thank you for joining me. I haven't even said hi to everyone, like officially. We've been going for 23 minutes already, and insane. The time just goes in an instant, you know. Carlos, welcome to the show. Great to have you. Dan, okay. Love this. I love the layout. I think any Patek with Breguet numerals is insane. And of course, if you want to be stealth and under the radar, you rock a white. I think this is a white gold, or it must be platinum. I mean, this is the most valuable piece in the family. It's so cool. So 5177 already said it's awesome. I'm going to pull up some more references now. The North Flag, that's a good suggestion. It's a watch that I did a video on a couple of months back. Tudor North Flag it's again one of those examples that really shows Tudor's trying to do something different, bring out something peculiar and interesting to the family. I really wish they had emphasized more on their website what the North flag represented and the history behind it. It's a really cool bit of history. Glasusa, original Senator Navigator. Okay, we can pull that up now. Geez, there's so many suggestions. This is going to go out of it, out of control. Ron, great to have you. Welcome to the show. Whiskey Town Racer. If stealth you mean under the radar, not flashy, I'll say the Creedor. Okay, we can do Creedors and Grand Seikos. That's cool. Ceramic Daytona would make for quite stealth if the bracelet was brushed. And that would be the case. I think someone who's a real enthusiast and who doesn't want a polished bracelet, it would be nice to see a full brushed bracelet on the piece. But again, this watch is a good example of something that you keep under the radar. Again, if you just joined the show, I wrote up a small list on what you could use to describe a stealth watch. Brushed matte surfaces, possibly a leather rubber strap to bring the presence down, the aggression. White gold, titanium, steel, platinum, simple layout, understated. I think this watch really ticks the boxes in that category. Love the highlights. It gives it a little bit of visual interest. Makes enthusiasts think. So even the most pure watch enthusiast might stop for a second and want to look at it more. Does not draw attention. Well, that kind of divides opinion. Subtle, obscure. This is a great suggestion. I think this was Muhammad who mentioned this. Really, really nice. I love that. Love that thought. Okay. Breguet Marine Titanium. I think it's sick. I like the loom. I like the idea. And the simplicity behind it. If we look at it on the wrist, I mean, how cool is that? That is so casual. And again, I've said this many times on many streams that I appreciate that Breguet is able to use their own language in the way that they address their sports watches. They're not trying to take from other names. They are very clear with what they're doing. Straight up, down, lugs, all of that. Dear Artifact, welcome to the show. If anyone's on Instagram, highly recommend you follow Dear Artifact. He's really cool. Orange Hand, great to have you here. Love, Orange Hand is the best username, best cover photo or avatar, whatever. Awesome. Gerard Perigo, Tudor Harrods. This is just going to get nuts. I think we're going to be, I've got to like slow down, pace myself with all of this because there's so many suggestions and thoughts on watches to mention. The F91W from Wearabot. Very true. Jean Identity. If you're on Instagram, Jean Identity is an awesome page to follow. And he also says 5711 in white, 100% stealth now. It's discontinued. Yeah, we addressed it in the beginning of the show. I can't believe it's already almost been half an hour we've been running. So this new Breguet Titanium, honestly, I could see myself owning one of these pieces as a first, like real true purchase. Stunning piece. And the last model that I had on the list, the Sector series from JLC. Again, very very unique to the family. Not something for everyone. I mean, the entry level, the standard automatic divides opinion. I mean, you have the new Longines Heritage Sector, which is just awesome. This model, what I think is the best thing about this family is that they really do look like a family. Let's see if we can find a better group shot of them all together. It's very seldom that a brand is able to release a series of watches and really keep them glued together. Whether that's down to just the finishing, the hand choice, the numerals, the layout on the dial, and that chronograph, man. That chronograph is just stellar. So I'll repeat again. I'm doing a video on this. It should be out maybe not next week, the week after. But this reference of chronograph, the fact that the subdials are so nicely balanced, the scale is there, but there's no running seconds. So unless you use the chronograph, those subdials will remain straight and simple. I love it. I think the balance, the use of color, absolutely unreal. Okay, so let's see some more suggestions. There's so much. Apologies if I miss your suggestions because there's just so much coming on the screen and I might miss a few tonight. I think Tudor Black Bay Dark is a good highlight. Would we call it Black Bay Dark? So it's just a simple, is it a PVD coating? I don't know the full extent of what they've done. This, I mean, really it is, I don't know how I could best explain PVD as a material, what people think. It all really depends on the quality of finish, whether or not it'll be robust. It's amazing just how the material and the finishing has developed over the years. We've seen how, you know, the 60s and the 70s pieces, you could literally scratch off the coating with your fingernail Now it's getting a lot better, a lot more refined, but it's a vanilla watch. Who wants to wear a stainless steel watch that has a black coating? I much prefer a watch that celebrates its material. I think that's important. So in a similar way, I think, the fact that it is black and under the radar, for sure, it's very, very stealthy. I mean, it really is. I think a black watch does definitely fit that criteria. But just purely from a idea of celebrating the material, I think just the standard Black Bay with, I don't know, the Harrods edition is pretty cool. We've mentioned this a few times before. The olive finish, instead of this bright, harsh green, gives it quite a lot of punch. Very understated, very low-key. I think it's a cool piece. Okay, let's see what else is going on. Grand Seiko SBGM. Now, if you can try and be more specific with the references, like the Grand Seiko pieces, I might be able to speed up things. There's so many references within the family. I think I'll be faster. Instead of typing out serials, if I could get like a clearer, just a, say Grand Seiko Elegance GMT or something along the lines of that, might make the search a little bit quicker. This is a gorgeous watch. It really is cool. It brings back, it gives me that idea of the 5, and actually, let's pull that up as we're talking about it. The Patek 5212, love jumping back to this watch. It has a lot of praise, but also a lot of disinterest, because it's very peculiar. They have a similar aesthetic with the dial, the color, and the font, and the layout. Grand Seiko, having a watch that looks so plain and simple as this, but you know that you have top-of-the-line GMT movement. It's amazing how similar these two watches look. So killer. Aquanauts, absolutely, Cheetone. Okay, Omega Railmaster, that's a great idea as well. Let's pull it up. This is just going to be nuts. Vacheron, I just see trillions of watches being asked. I'm going to try my best. As always, I try my best to pull up as much as possible. But, and the worst thing is when my name is not mentioned in the chat, I miss a lot of them. So if you could highlight at IDGuy, whether it's at IDGuy or hashtag, it works either way. Railmaster, just killer, superb. All fits under that stealth explorer-esque styling. Really, really nice. And the Aquanaut, I was thinking of using an Aquanaut in the earlier, as the cover photo, actually. Yeah, look at that dial. Look at those colors. Love the contrast, the blue, the finishing, the surfaces. Hell, this would make a superb first watch. I'm always on the hunt looking at first watches, Patek Aquanaut. I think just the standard black Aquanaut's good. Navy is quite cool. I tried on a 36mm Aquanaut. And that is, I mean, it doesn't feel like you're wearing anything. I can imagine the standard Aquanaut as it is now probably doesn't feel like you're wearing anything at all. But in 36mm, jeepers, it's like it doesn't even exist. I think this is the 36. It's unreal. I mean, I hate to sound like harsh, but it just doesn't feel like a finely made watch. It just, with a rubber strap and everything else, there's nothing there. Whether that's testament to great build quality and just what Patek's capable of doing, I don't know how to best describe it. I think the hype for these watches is just, I mean, geez, I had a look on Chrono 24 the other day, and these things are going for like well over 6 figures. And you think to yourself, is it really necessary? Really? Yes, it makes for a perfect stealth wealth watch. This could be one of the winners of this selection in this category, honestly. But for the price that they ask for these things, it's just unbelievable. And I really think we should try, as much as I like talking about certain references, we should really try and navigate ourselves away from the generic stuff. It would be nice for this channel to kind of crush the generic pieces as much as possible, though it's nice to talk about them. There's a lot of stuff we can talk about, like relating to theory and everything underneath, but it would be nice to go against. So look at the 36mm variant, for example. Calatrava white gold. IWC Mark, is that a Mark 4? Yes, it is. Very stealth. You can have a look at that. Geez, there's so much going on. I've missed so many. Larco, there's mentioned, there's Glycine, Zodiac Super Seawolf, very, very sick. The Aquanaut was meant to be a cheap entry level in an era where Patek needed that to survive. NS something. True. It was a watch to be introduced to appeal to the youth, very much like the AP Overseas. And it kind of went out of control thanks to mass media and social media. Yeah, these two watches are just, it's so overdone at this point. I mean, doesn't everyone crack a bit of a yawn when they look at this in a watch box? And it's just like, okay, yes, we've seen it. Yeah, so the Nautilus, I think, or the Aquanaut, I think is cool. Some models work better than others in this camp, in this category. And let's grab out the Grandmaster Chime. Very subtle. IWC Ocean 2000 from Robert. That's a good suggestion. There was also mention about the Vacheron, the America and the 1921. I mentioned this to be an excellent reference for Thomas Burnett. I don't know if he's in the show tonight. In white gold or platinum. I don't even know what the material is on this piece. Very cool. Impossible to wear on a right wrist. So I don't know what this dude's doing. I mean, that's just like, you want to break your neck looking at the time. Very, very subtle. And apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently they come in, what is this person doing? This is also on the right wrist. Wrong. Apparently it comes in white gold. I don't know if it comes in platinum. I've also been told that it comes in both 36 and 40 mils. It's such a killer watch. Something that someone who wears watches on their left wrists would enjoy. I don't know so much about the right wrist people. Okay, Zodiac Super Seawolf. I'm scrolling up to see if there's anything else. The Hamilton Khaki, that's a good idea. And geez, we got a huge from Freddie Turner. Platinum Speedmaster, Platinum Seamaster. Geez, there's so many watches within the family. Let's look at Platinum Seamaster. That should be cool. I can't say I've seen one of those before. Oh, with a blue dial. I think I have seen it before in the past. Wow. Lapis Lazuli. Who has seen this before? Check it out. Malachite and a Lapis Lazuli dial. Now that is cool. A little bit too bright. A little bit too exuberant. Expressive. Yeah, but it's cool. I think the idea of having that contrasting material is just awesome. Platinum Speedmaster, another suggestion. Well, that's another thing. This looks like a Seamaster. I think even the enthusiast would be able to know what this piece is. So in that way, I don't think it works as well as a suggestion about the Hamilton Khaki Field, for example. There's so many watches. I think we could do this for just hours on end, you know. This also fits the build very well. Field watches in general. Any mil-spec inspired pieces really hit the mark. Morgan the Druid says, I pity you. So much attention and trying to manage and room to keep everyone happy. Yeah, it's difficult. It is very difficult to balance out. The reality is certain discussions get good views, others don't. I was quite surprised that this new Moser video didn't get much attention, actually, because I thought it was very unique, very different. I tried to like drill in all the elements that I think made it a very inspired piece, but you know, if it's not your cup of tea, then you won't be interested in watching it. So that's just the case. But anyway, it's fun. I like to try my best to vary up as much as possible as the channel expands, as the audience expands, so we can go into more diverse and broader subjects. So it should be cool. The Vacheron Patrimony Self-Winding, that's a very nice suggestion. But again, it's depending on the material. As a dress watch, yeah, sure. If you go white gold, it's a great idea. But when you go gold, you kind of have a bit of an issue. Vacheron Patrimony in general, just that whole family. There's some amazing watches from Vacheron, right? Amazing colors. Love the finishes. Love the subtlety. Look how subtle that is. But again, dress watches. I want to do a stream all about dress watches and talk about whether or not they are the enthusiast watch at this point in time, or whether they are a selection of watches that you get into once you're beyond the sports line, you know? Okay, I've missed a lot of chats. There's a Porsche Ocean. I love the Ocean 2000. Let's pull one of those up. 3939 Patek. Absolutely beautiful. You can't go wrong with that piece at all. But you have to train your eye or your ear to hear the chime. You know, it's actually quite difficult for the most part. You have to be pretty experienced in knowing about the quarters and the hours. This is a really cool stealth watch. I thought of using this in the cover photo. Really dig it. I think this is a modern iteration. I don't know the full. This is an Aqua timer. Jeez, there's so many references. We could talk about these pieces for years. Yeah, cheap, non-black thrill. Larco, can have a look at that just now. The difference between stealth and understated, I think they fall in the same category or the same camp, Tippy. We want something that is incognito, very under the radar to anyone. Stealthiest Grand Seiko, the SBGV 245. Do I have any of those up? I really dig this. I think the Railmaster really nailed it. This trilogy family, I just think are some of the coolest pieces that Omega's made. If I wanted an Omega right now, I would be pulling out and getting one of those. SBG V245. Oops. Let's see. And that's just, I can imagine, a very basic dial. There was also mention about an Oyster Perpetual 39. Wow, this is nice. Check out that contrast. Love the case on this piece too. There's a few Grand Seikos that managed to really do the case as well. Love the form. Let's see if I can get a better res image. There we go. Wow, this is awesome. I think this was Muhammad again who mentioned this. So cool. Love the yellow contrast of the stitching on the strap. Never seen these references before, and I just want to try and get it in tightly. Oh, these high-res images, they really make the Magic Mouse angry. Oh my goodness. Apologies, everyone. We're going to get there eventually. Come on. I think Seiko goes a little bit far with their high-res images, personally. Okay. Emmanuel, welcome to the show. Cheaton, let's take a second to thank for providing interactive live. Yeah, I try my best, Cheaton. Try my best, and I know that I miss a lot of your chats in general. Sadly, I tend to always pull out. I tend to always rewatch my streams just to catch up to see if it was in fact interesting or not. And I rewatch the chat sometimes and notice that I miss a lot of questions out to me. And if I don't like shout out your name, just tag me at IDGuy, and I'm sure I will find it eventually, even if you repeat it a few times. PJ, welcome to the show. Ant, good to have you here. Geez, there's so many new people. Justin, Vacheron 56, Ant G, good idea. I've been meaning to have a look at this piece in a bit more detail. The 56 has a very peculiar dial layout. Now, I'm not one to like this dial format at all. It's a personal preference thing. It's of all the dials that watches have, this is the one that interests me the least. I know that I think you've just picked one up, and blue dial on a bracelet. I don't think this is the reference you're talking about. This format really doesn't do it for me at all. The baton and the numeral clash, I think it looks a bit distracting. Next up from this would be a California dial, which equally I find a mess. I think this is the model you're talking about. 56 self-winding SIHH 2019. This is beautiful. This is a full-on annual calendar. Oh, come on, mouse. Work with me here, sweetheart. I think I need a better setup for this. This mouse is really messing me around tonight. Oh, my soul. Sorry, everyone. Apologies. Oh, dear. I don't know what's going on here. We're having a serious technical issue. Here we go. We're back. That is a nice contrast. I think this Perpetual is one hell of a cool looking piece. Nice layout. Again, apologies for that funky trip. 5196P, way to go with dress watches. I think it's awesome. Another question is, when we talk about that, you can go into like Lange Saxonias and everything else. Do these watches not get a little bit too under the radar? Oh, gee, this is the model with the Brega, of course, Brega numerals. I'm thinking of the generic 5196. This is so cool. Love the layout. As far as subtlety goes, I think it's awesome. Something about Patek that I don't really like are the hands. I think the Calatrava hands make the watch a lot more unique in the family. That's just stunning. I think it's awesome. Any watch with Brega numerals wins. VC is a better brand over AP without the Royal Oak. Very good line, Justin. Okay, sorry, Dan, I missed your question. That's the nice thing about the interactive chat, is that you guys can all catch up with each other. Christopher Day, better late than never. It's great to have you here. 44 minutes in, it's going pretty well. Shane, Freddie, I've said hi to you already. Andrew, welcome. Crappy, welcome. JBO, Jean Identity, Saxonia, 100% stuff. I think it is, Jean. The Saxonia, the standard Saxonia thin. Let's have a look. That thin, and we'll say white gold. There's a time when you have to say, isn't it not a little bit too basic, too simple? There's a lot of time when there's comparisons between this watch and another one that you can get for like $200. Of course, only you know what this piece is, and I think that's what makes it so cool. So Andrew, this is your first time on. Welcome. This is just our time to sit back. I hope you guys are all drinking something cool and putting your feet up. You need to see Nardan monopusher chrono reference. La, 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 la. We'll get to that. And there's something. I can't do these long references. You know, I'm slow on a Saturday. Blancpain Bathyscaphe from Mohammed. That's cool. I've said this about the Blancpain Bathyscaphe in general, is that I really don't find it very appealing. I think that what they've done with the proportions kind of affects its overall layout. The standard 50 fathoms is cool, but the Bathyscaphe, what they've done with the indices and the numerals and everything, the scale and the size just feels off. And what they did better is the chronograph. I think this watch was actually made to be a chronograph and not a diver so much. Just by looking at the placement of the subdials, the size of the hands, looks a lot more allocated. This is a ceramic case as well, so pretty awesome. Okay, what else is going on? Ulysses Nardon Sonata Streamline Titanium, Forbin Colossus. Let's do it. I can imagine it's like the most, I was expecting to get suggestions for like the most unreal watches out there. Sonata, what the hell would we call a Sonata? Ulysses Nardon, this is the problem. Nardon, here we go. Just as I thought. I mean, this is just absolutely nuts. So no, this doesn't fall into the stealth sphere of things, I wouldn't say. Crowns arranged to the left side. No, this doesn't exactly line up with the stealth feel. It does make you question a few things. But yeah, it's just crazy. This is so much. And I think what I should have also mentioned in this category, let's pull up IWC Ocean and just pull up this again. I should have mentioned either dress watch or sports watch. I think there's a distinct definition between the two. Dress watches generally are a much stealthier selection. So, I mean, I should have actually mentioned coolest stealth sports watches instead of just stealth watches in general, you know? Oh, there's so much. I think the 5212 is just a gorgeous piece. I think they really hit it out the park with this. Very rare and collectible, of course, as it will be. Leather stealthy, I think so. Leather, rubber straps, NATOs, whatever else. Jean-Claude, I saw you earlier. Welcome. Great to have you here. PJ is drinking water. I'm mixing it up, water and wine. Don't know how it'll work tonight. Hyundai Sonata. Blancpain sucks, Ron Shrink says. Yeah, I think it has its place. I think it's cool. I think he just did that to comment, to reply to a certain pontiff. It has its place. I really wish they brought the scale of these down a little bit. I mean, they're like 43 mils for the most part. But there's just so much. Breguet Type 20. I think I kind of shot myself in the foot not mentioning whether it was going to be a dress watch or a sports watch. There are just so many options out there. Let's think. What's another? I just love the 1815 chrono. Always pull it up. But the 1815 is my dream, and also Ron the Shrink's dream watch. I think we've both firmly established how much we love this piece. So something about a dress watch and a chronograph. If I was ever going for a dress watch one day, I would be sure to have a chronograph complication. I think as far as complications go, it is my favorite by far, because it celebrates the watchmaking. It's a much more complicated machine. It has the same effect of using a dive bezel, except once you've finished using it, you can pause it and have that time cemented. So if you go for a walk for 40 minutes and you want to time it, you can pause it, carry on with the rest of your day, check back and say, oh, it was a 40-minute walk, and bang on, you know, really cool. I just love it. I think chronographs and dress watches, that should be a stream all to itself. It's just awesome. Greeting from Paris. Welcome, Ryan. Great to have you here. So, Senator Navigator, very understated for what it is. Blancpain Barracuda, that's really cool. Dig that watch. A Blancpain the Putin wears, Cheetown. I made a video about that. I called it the top 3 Blancpain pieces that you can get, and it is called the Aqualung. What a stellar piece. This has to be one of the coolest watches that the family makes, and it's the grand date. Oops, let's get that G in there for grand. Bang. This thing is absolutely amazing. So the video I did about it a couple of months back, as always. My gosh, this mouse. I think it's because there's a bit of sweat on my hand or something, but the mouse really isn't happy. Look at that for a simple, understated, toned down piece. It's on a leather strap, big grand date, just superb. And the fact that it's at the 6, out of the way, nice and balanced, sword hands, it's just too cool. Batons, plots, numerals, easy to read, glow in the dark. Love it. So this is called the Aqualung. Blancpain Aqua. I don't know if it's not a part of the 50 Fathoms line. It's just called the Aqualung. Really dig it. They've been out of production for a long time, but they're sweet. Magic trackpads, yeah, it really is. I mean, you would expect Apple to be a bit more on the ball with that. This is the latest generation, you know, the wireless without batteries or anything, but it still manages to have a bit of a connection issue. It looks like a Tag Heuer, Ron says. Are you talking about this Aqualung, really? Is that what you think? I just think it's so stellar. I mean, it looks like your standard Explorer. Let's see if we can get one on the wrist. They're very rare. They're sought after by a lot of people. It looks like your standard Explorer until you see that big date window. With sword, I mean, how can you go wrong with sword hands? And it's so cool. I think it's really interesting. And Aqualung is Putin's favorite watch. Apparently, he wears a few of them. He sticks to Blancpain for the most part, if I'm not wrong. Cheetown's saying, I gave up on Apple, getting it when they ruined the mouse and keyboard reliability. Yeah. This is a 5K screen that I'm using. It's very good for resolution and legibility, but for the prices they ask, it's just nuts. I got it on a whim as I was finishing my degree. So, I dig this. I think the Aqualung is a really, really sick watch. The fact that the bezel is stepped and everything, nice and polished, nice and brushed, it's cool. BS saying, what Tag Heuer looks like this? Yeah, exactly. It's cool. So I really dig it. I think it's nice. You can have your own opinion on it. Also, I like the font on the dial and the printing. Looks cool. But as far as dress watch chronographs go, there's some awesome pieces in the category. The JLC Sector is one that I really dig next to this. And again, another thing, just to emphasize, they can't be watches that are easily recognizable. So Amiga Speedmasters in the stealth game, it's quite moot because most of us know what that watch is, right? The general public knows what that is. If they saw the watch go to the moon or into space, they know what it is. This is such a cool offering from JLC. I'm really considering this as a first watch, a luxury watch, high-end piece. Okay, I'm behind 3 minutes. Am I? No, I'm not. I'm scrolling now with the chat as we go, so it should be okay. I try my best to keep up with the chats, but a lot of the time it gets overwhelming. And I like to pause on certain models at times. JBO Surf mentioning IWC Portuguesa. That's a good one. We could look that up, PJ. The Patek 3670A. I don't know what that is. That can't be an Aquanaut, is it? Might it be a travel time? Let's see. Patek, I've always found these references interesting. You learn so much about the brand as long as you know references. Oh, it's the strange TV style case. So what is this? Just a standard chronograph? Have I got this reference right? 3670A. What a strange piece. Can't say I've seen this before. And the suggestion was thanks to JBO Surf. Interesting looking watch. Love the way they've done the tachymeter scale. That's not a tachymeter scale. It's just a minute track. The balance, the lines on the dial. Really nice how it seals up that space, you know? Different. Very cool. Doesn't look like a Patek whatsoever. PG asking 4-hour stream tonight. I don't think so. 2.5 is basically my max. So we've been running for 48 minutes. Should be pretty good. But I'm going to pace myself because There's a lot going on. The master control has been discontinued, Caliber 3135 says. I didn't know that. That's a pity. But geez, I think it is such a stellar piece. So I made a video discussing all of this, discussing the dial layout, the hollow syringe hands. I think it's so unique and different. Another suggestion, Seiko SBD, here we go again. SBD, if you can try your best, I know it's a pain being on the other end of a keyboard, and the suggestion comes from Jenks. This is what happens. Yeah, I miss up something and I just ruin the whole, damn it. I miss up on something and I miss the whole description of the watch. 031. I can't do these Seiko references. Hey, I'm useless. Oh, cool. This is a Willard. Is this the original Willard or is this the Pro Specs that they're bringing out? Very, very cool watch. I wouldn't say it's that stealth. I mean, it's a chunky thing. There was also a suggestion about the Bulgari Octo Finissimo. They're very big watches on the wrist. I wouldn't say that they're exactly under the radar and low key. There's a mention about a 116, looks like a Daytona reference, but I might be completely wrong. 6595. Let's have a look at that. Absolutely pure stealth. This thing goes unnoticed by anyone and everyone. God, what an abomination. It's just I just don't understand. The 6006, that's a great suggestion. That was also discontinued along with the white dial Nautilus, if I'm not wrong. And I find it a peculiar watch. I thought this was discontinued a long time ago. I didn't know this was still in production. It's a very peculiar watch, and it's considered a Calatrava in the family. I'd be interested in knowing your thoughts on the reference, and I've actually managed to no, I haven't managed to keep up with the chat at all. Okay, Roger Dubuis, we can jump to, geez, okay, I'm gonna have to scroll up, put the wine down and scroll up to catch up with everything else. Fortis, geez, where do I begin? Ron the Shrink saying, I'm dead on with the JLC sector dial, although the entry model is a gem of the line design-wise. Might be the best value dress watch on the planet. It is so cool, Ron. It is so cool. Really dig it. This is why I love these live streams, because we get that instant community engagement, you know? I mean, I can put a thought out there and then have to reply to 80 comments about the thought, or do this and have millions of watches up, millions of thoughts on what they like, you know, what people like, and, you know, that's awesome. Love it. Fortis Terrestrial Tycoon. Well, let's try and mix it up a bit and look at some other brands. I'm slowly but surely getting into other pieces. Tycoon Chronograph, is that the reference? Huh. That's quite a nice looking watch, you know. Reminds me of that new Longines Heritage, what do they call it? It's like a 1945 heritage piece with these little thumbtack styled plots. Let's try and get a better image. Apologies about the resolution and everything else. I'm only as fast as my internet. It's a good line. Check at the lugs on that thing. Wow, that's amazing. What is this piece? If anyone can comment, I'm actually gonna, geez, I'm missing out so many of these along the lines. Okay, I'm going to scroll down and try and keep up with the chats. There's a couple of mentions about Moser and all sorts. If you can repeat that suggestion at a later stage, that would be cool. But this is a really cool, check these lugs out on this piece. I wouldn't exactly call it low key. What would you call it? That is so cool. I'm going to have to check back and look at this reference again. Again, I'm zooming into it. I don't know what this Fortis dress piece is, but any watch that has Corne de Vache styled lugs, this is a winner. Hardly understated and low key, but you know, I think it just has such a character to itself. Let's pull up the Aqualung again that Ron the Shrink hates. Let's carry on. The 5212, beautiful, understated. Yeah, Leon, it is so cool. It'll be amazing to see just where it goes. It's going to be a future collectible. I'm sure most of us know that. Parmigiani Florio, depending on what material you'd like, of course. And there was mention about the 6006, definitely not my favorite Patek from BS. I find it strange. I've actually tried to like it. I sit down and really take my time looking at these things. And I don't know how to really justify it as a watch in the family. It feels like it has that Vegas roulette wheel style. It looks like a tuxedo Patek, you know, like the tuxedo dials you see on Rolex models for the most part. Very peculiar, offset date. It appeals to a certain individual. And I've just noticed that certain references have a crescent moon for the date complication, and others have arrows. Interesting. It's a very peculiar watch. Very divided opinion on that one. Okay, let's pull out something else while I'm sitting here. 1921 from Rico. I pulled that up earlier. We've gone through so many watches in the last 50 minutes. It's actually been an hour. I think my stream is slow in updating. So let's see. I'm actually managing to keep up with the chat, kind of, sort of. The Venta Black 2327, and that comes from Hans. Let's have a look. Venta Black. Oh dear. Venta Black 2327. Is that the reference? Oh wow, is this a Moser? Ventura Concept. It is. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, really, really nice. So I want to talk about these Moser pieces in a little bit more detail. Very much a watch that divides opinion for the most part. I'm going to refresh the chat refresh my screen on my laptop because it looks like I'm very behind. Pity. I was actually like 2 minutes behind. I think that was the problem. My internet had a bit of a spike. So I've caught up now. Now I can actually read the rest of what's going on here. As I mentioned about a Bolivar Minuteman from Foreman Glasses. Let's pull that up. Really love these little corn Devash lugs. Bolivar Minuteman. There's so many pieces. You kind of want a team. I think we need, oh geez. Did I just botch that one up? This is another thing. If we're not specific with references, Lunar Pilot's quite cool. If we're not specific with references, we get a bad answer. Thanks, Forbin. You might need to be more specific with the suggestion. Geez, there's so much stuff going on. Let's see. Venta Black, really cool. I think this is, even for a gold piece, I think this is pretty stealthy for the most part. It looks nice. But again, color is dependent on your skin tone and everything else. In white gold, I'm guessing this is white gold, with a moon. I love the moon complication. Moser does some cool stuff. I know there's a few people who really, really dislike it, but I think Moser does some interesting stuff. I wouldn't be someone who would be capable of using this watch because I need my watch to tell me the time. But in saying that, I think that, I like the idea that they are so simple with their approach, but it is definitely for a certain someone. I love it. I think of all the Moser pieces that I like, I love that Swiss Alps tourbillon. Let's pull it up. Tourbillon. So it's just a standard minute repeater. How cool is this? What I liked so much about this reference when it came out, humor me for a second, I'm sure I'm missing a lot of your chat. Actually, I'm doing pretty well. There's mention about Piaget and everything else from Pilot Style. I'm going to have to catch that up in a second. Thomas, welcome to the show. Year of the Rat. That's funny. I'll pull it up now. It's awesome. So humor me for a second. This watch, I think, is so interesting because first, it gives the finger to Apple and their idea to create a smartwatch. I think that's so funny, charming, interesting. Second, it's a tourbillon. Awesome. Third, it's a minute repeater. And you can only tell the time if you know how to listen for the chime itself. And in this finish and this material, it's very stealth, very understated. And someone who comes across you wearing this would just say, nice Apple Watch. And you can just say, hey, it's not an Apple Watch. It's much better than that. Listen, it's a smartwatch, but a different kind of smartwatch, Okay, Thomas Burnett, thanks for the super chat, brother. It's always great having you here. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that on the show. I need to improve my French. But let's pull it up. Year of the Rat. That's what it is this year, apparently. I learnt. So Vacheron Métier. There we go. Oh yeah, this is simply subtle in its purest sense. Thanks for that, Thomas. Talking about understated and stealth and everything else, this definitely hits the nail on the head. Actually, for the purpose of reading it, it's pretty cool. The fact that you don't have any hands to worry about. Why would you have a huge rat on your dial, though? Unless you've been called a rat or a rodent in your life. Pretty cool, though. Anyway, I'm going to catch up with all of you now, I hope. They've got new people on. Rooted Rota, welcome. A few new names. Junior, I've missed some of you guys. Again, if you tag me at IDGuy, I'll be able to see your chats much quicker and easier. I struggle with keeping up with everyone and engaging with everyone while pulling up watches to look at. I really don't like the idea that there's a rodent on the dial. It kind of ruins it for me. It would be a lot nice. I mean, there's jump hour references. We've looked at them before, actually, that are just so cool. Zenith Pilot. Jeez, where do we begin with Zenith? Again, I need to pull up the criteria for everyone new who's joining the show. Let's see. Zenith Pilot. Oh, geez. Flyback. I'm just going to like riff it because I can't deal with all those references at once. Is this it here? I think. Is that a bronze case? Tipo CP2. Geez, I just don't know, man. That's very cool. There's something about these 40s old school inspired pieces. Did they actually fade the bezel? Talk about patina, fauxtina. Made a video about that this week. I think brands sometimes take it a bit too far. Fading a bezel like that, I mean, you can do yourself at home with bleach if you really wanted to. Take another sip of the wine. Okay, this is good. I've actually caught up with the chat. So I'm officially at the bottom of the list and I'm keeping up with all of you guys. It's great. Pull up the criteria again for everyone new who's joined the show. Under the term Stealth Watch, let's pull up the 6006 again, just to look at something while I scroll through. Let's see. There we go. Mouse is being nice and unresponsive. So Stealth Watch, talking about different materials, surfaces, understated. Nomos Club from Justin. Okay, let's pull it up. Now this, me and Nomos, let me just pull up Nomos watches in general. The only Nomos watch that I really like is the Orion. I think the Orion is cool. Understated, sums up what they're doing. And then they've just gone all over the show with other references. The one Nomos piece that I really like, it's the Orion, and it's a certain trilogy piece. What did they call it? It was the Bauhaus edition or something. I think this is just... if you want to see my video on Nomos, there it is. I love this. This to me is just the coolest Nomos they've ever made. Love the contrast, love the size and the different form of batons. But if we are going to pull up the Nomos Club, it's definitely a watch for a certain person. It's for someone who's just getting into the hobby. Whether or not, I mean, there's so many Nomos Clubs as it is. California dial, it's a no-go zone for me. I just don't think this falls into Nomos's design language whatsoever. I think it kind of goes against what they do. Yeah, it's not something that appeals to me whatsoever. I'm sure you would all have a different opinion on the subject, of course. Okay, and there's something, the Reverso. I had a thought we were going to talk about the Reverso because it really is something cool. Again, guys, if you are mentioning me in the chat, I will see it if you tag me in the chat. I really struggle with enamel. Geez, tribute, enamel. Sometimes these references just go nuts. Oh, this is amazing. This is really amazing. I remember talking about these. So what they've done is a hand-painted enamel finish on the back of the dial. I mean, that's just so class. Eh? Only you know that you have an artwork, a literal artwork on the back. They've done so many pieces as well with this format, whether you want some Venetian-inspired references or... Oh, it's just stunning. Absolutely stunning. Great suggestion. The Reverso family, I made a video about the Reverso and really tried to go in with as much depth as possible, discussing the line and the millions of references out there. The fact that they've built themselves on this line and have done such a great job in keeping them all relevant and interesting, appealing, it's amazing, right? I love this wine red. Hardly understated and stealth, but it's just awesome. The Portuguese, I think that's the issue that I have with it, Leon. I mean, what would we classify the Portuguese as? Let's pull up a separate page. IWC Portuguese. I haven't discussed this watch at all, and it's probably because of the size that bothers me. Geez, and I've just missed the chat. Damn it! I hate it when it scrolls up when I'm trying to talk about something. So 44 mil diameter, the Pisa annual. Let's pull it up. I think this might be it. No, let's see. The size, I just don't get it. Of all, I mean, IWC, the Portuguese is a real icon. It needs a video for itself But the 44 mil size for what is essentially a dress watch, I think is a bit of an issue. Okay, carry on. Bring up the Horror Mundi. Let's check that out. Caliber 3135 always has some cool stuff. Love that tourbillon. Horror Mundi. Whoops. Crazy names. Hardly subtle. Oh, it's a Breguet. Wow, didn't know that. So hardly called this stealth, but it is just beautiful. I need to do more discussions on Breguet. I've chatted about the Classique. Oh, Magic Mouse, you are being such a friend of mine this evening. Okay, this is hardly stealth in gold, but it's high res, so this is as good as we get. Hardly stealth whatsoever. Bud the Stud, AP Royal Oak, white gold. Yeah, good, awesome. Let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at that. 152. Thank you for the super chat, brother. 502 BC. Oh, it's just stunning. And did they only come in this honeycomb dial? I had a feeling that it also came in a salmon dial, but I might be wrong. It's really cool. It's very obscure, but I think Royal Oaks in general, if we're talking about stealth and everything else, again, the problem is it's very well recognized. The idea behind the watches tonight is to, I mean, in one way, since I mentioned the 5711 earlier, it had a white dial, which made it unique. This and the size is superb. Love the scale down presence, so it's a little bit more understated. And the yellow dial is just gorgeous. It would be nice to see more salmon dial references in the family. I mean, here's a great photo. Oh, it's too cool. But again, it's too flashy. It's for a stealth watch, you want something that's a little bit under the radar. Piaget Altiplano chronograph. There's something about that Piaget. I remember that name. What is special about that piece? Again, a 44 mil of the Portuguese. I need to do a chat about that. Altiplano. And you said chrono, pilot style. Oh, yes. Okay, this is why I remember talking about this. I mentioned the Altiplano thin, and it's a tribute. I think I was talking about just the standard time-only watch in the Piaget video I did. Love the name. This looks awesome. Great suggestion, pilot style. Imagine seeing, this is really classic, right? Stunning. Love check the split between the batons. The 1, the 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Nice and even centered balance. Straight up down lugs. Love it. Okay, I've missed a lot of the chats. I'm new to, geez, I'm so bad with this half the time. Debethune, it's a dress watch on Schwarzenegger. Okay, Parmigiani Fleurier Oval, normal tono watch, yet the hands look amazing. I hope these watches are kind of stealth. So again, just jumping back to the Reverso, I think the Tribute line, geez, there's some amazing pieces in the Reverso family. Whether we're talking about tourbillons, just the sheer amount of finishing, look at the resolution of that image. Set that as a wallpaper and you're done, right? Absolutely amazing. Okay, let's see if I can carry on with this. Jeez, it's so bad that I miss so many of your chats and I have to like scroll up and catch up. Where do we go from here? Parmigiani, let's have a look at that. Parmigiani Fleurier Oval. The one model, hey, this is quite cool. But again, we want something stealthy and understated. How does this fall into the camp? That's pretty nice. What are they doing with those hands? That looks like some kind of Industrial Revolution reference. We have those stretchy girder style. It reminds me of a cartoon. You know, those cartoon claws that characters would use. Very interesting though. Parmigiani with their case designs. Very unique in the family. Geez, there's so many suggestions going on. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the chat to keep up with everyone. Let's see what else is happening. Vacheron Constantin 56. We've had a look at that already, I think. And Glashütte original 70s chronograph tippy. I find it a very strange reference from the family. Let's have a look. Chronograph. I really find this was asked of me, I think last week. Hardly subtle, right? Hardly understated. I'm afraid when you have a dial like this, hardly flies under the radar. I find this very peculiar. And I said this in the last stream that Glashütte should have a stronger focus on their classical pieces. I think this goes against what they do. it would be nice to see more classical watches from a more Breguet styled family, you know, instead of high end, you know, attempting to be sports watches in the family. Geez, so much going on. I love these Patek references. I think that's easy enough. It's nice when there's just a few little bits and pieces as a reference to follow instead of like long. That's the problem with Seikos in general. Offshore, Ginza, thanks to Cheetown. So I'm guessing it's all black. That's very cool. The offshore is a interesting kettle of fish. Some models, I don't know how there's some with black dials, there's some without, there's some with full black cases and braces. There's some offshores that really look good and others just look so peculiar. And there's something says the hands expand and contract to match the shape of the dial. That is amazing. You're kidding me. And if do I still have the reference? I need to pull it up again. This is an awesome little Piaget. Geez, we just go through so many watches. Let's pull it up again. What was it called? It was a Parmigiani Oval. These names, Parmigiani, Florio, Oval. Tell you what, that is absolutely brilliant. That is really cool. I didn't realize. So just not talking about understated, I'm just doing this for the highlight of this. These little hands work like accordions and actually expand and contract relative to where they're sitting on the oval shaped dial. That is so peculiar and brilliant. I'd love to see that in practice. Sounds awesome. 5178G. Love our Patek references. I really hope to continue discussing. Oh, yes. Insane. Was this a separate reference from what did we chat about earlier? We chatted about this was the piece we were chatting about, wasn't it? Caliber 3135. I don't know if you joined the show earlier or not, but this was one of the first watches we were talking about. The Tourbillon, I don't know if this is a Tourbillon minute repeater. It's just a standard minute repeater. Okay, that's the difference. Give me some high res. Let me pull this up. Beautiful. Doesn't really go with this unless you want a polished watch. The materials there, you've got lovely, I don't know if it's platinum or if it's gold, but awesome silver contrast, lighting, just stunning. Breguet hands, that's all you want, right? Understated, it really is a killer. Okay, let's see. Nippon, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate it. It's just great. I hope I'm managing to keep up with all of you. I'm going to have to scroll down because there's so much. There's an FP Journe repetition. Yeah, okay, let's have a look at that. There's so many watches that, you know, we'll be at this repetition. I want to do more. Is this the Prince you're talking about? I don't know. Black Label. Jeez. Let's see. I hate it when there's like 50 different names behind the reference. That is insane. That is really nice. If the picture loads up, there we go. That is awesome. There's so many references to go through. We've got de Bethune, we've got Beauvais, Senator Navigator, Larry the Private Investigator. My email, it's in my About section of my page. So if you just go onto my channel to the About section, you'll see it. Let's see what else is going on. Jeez. There's so much going on. Talking about IWC Golf Club, Yacht Club. Geez, Q Maestro, let's have a look. Really dig the black on black. Really nice, understated. I'm wondering if the hands are black as well. That might be quite a problem for most people. Piaget Altiplano, beautiful. Thank you for the suggestion on that. Love the chronograph. IWC Golf. Never heard of this reference before. Golf Club. Is that really a name? Oh, cool. I can't say I've seen this before. Is this a 70s reference from back in the day when they were playing around with their integrated cases? Can't say I've ever seen this piece before in the family. Where's a good picture? This looks like quite a rare model in the family. Geez, I really think I shot myself in the foot mentioning whether or not it should be sports or dress, because it's just mad. There is so much going on. This has a minute repeater, caliber 3135. It's really cool. We chatted about the tourbillon and the minute repeater in the beginning. Very nice and understated. Fourth time. Okay, Ashmore, I see you. Thank you. Anderson Genève, perpetual secular calendar. Okay, talking another podcast. Okay, I will pull it up in another video. Let's pull it up since you mentioned it, might as well. Let's see. Anderson Geneve. Let's start with that. Perpetual sector. I'm guessing, okay, by the looks of things, it's just a crazy art house piece. I mean, geez, look at these things. Awesome. Thank you for the suggestion. I'm definitely going to follow up and study these. These high art watches need to be looked at in more detail. Sector Navigator, 5107p. Okay, I'm going to try my best to like limit the typing as much as possible so I can keep up with all of you. 5107p. And we've actually mentioned this before in the past. It's really cool. I mean, this is real stealth. Okay? The only real distinction that you know it's in platinum is because of the little diamond at the base of the case. Black on black, nice and simple, streamlined. Jacob Astronomia, Cheetown, absolutely not. This is a complete and utter disaster. Seamaster DeVille, Timex Marlin. Jeez Louise. Okay, that's cool. Let's have a look at one of those. Geez, I've just been going nuts. The last 80 minutes has just been watches on watches. Let's see. Seamaster DeVille. There are some amazing pieces out of these watches. Sorry, I'm mincing my words. There's some amazing references up on eBay that you can find. Much better condition than half of these. The DeVille line, quite understated, and I appreciate. Oh wow. Hold on a second. Who follows Craft and Tailored in the chat? He's just done a video on this. I don't know if it was the DeVille, but this has a 3-2-1 movement. This is an awesome piece. And talking about understated, everyone's so interested in the 3-2-1 caliber and all the rest. This is a gorgeous piece. Love the idea that it's simple, straight up down lugs, but has that caliber that everyone wants. Chip Wong, ban the trolls. So, okay, let's actually address this for a second before we go any further. This is a really sick piece. I'm not interested in getting involved in whatever's going on other channels at all. I will say that this is supposed to be a time when we can all escape, sit down and talk about this stuff. I don't see why there's so much aggression and there are fights going on other channels. Because honestly, if I wanted to start a fight with someone, it would either be in the street or at the gym. I mean, this is a time when we can just sit back, do this for fun and enjoy this. So really, guys, please, let's keep this BS under wraps as much as possible. I want this to be a time when we can just chat about this stuff. It's ridiculous. I've heard, Thomas Burnett sent me an email telling me about what's been going on. I think it's just petty from all sides. You guys just need to tone it down. We're doing this for fun. That's the only reason why we run these shows at the end of the day. Senator Navigator from Tippy. Let's have a look at that. Really slick. We've gone through so many references in the last hour and a half. It's insane. How the hell have I managed to do it? Senator Navigator. Yeah, I guess I should weigh in on what's been going on. I don't know the full extent of it, honestly. I barely spend my time watching other channels. That's always been the case. The whole social side of things on these pages comes fourth on my list. Either it's preparing videos or write-ups or anything else. I catch the occasional Watchbox related thing to get some information. But for the most part, I stick to what I'm doing. And the feuds that are going on between channels, I've said this before, there has been cyberbullying on other pages before, and I just don't think it's worth it. It really isn't. It's supposed to be a time when we can all just sit back and have fun, really, right? Dan, you haven't missed much. We've just been going, I mean, I can't even keep track with the amount of references we've been scrolling through. Really sick piece. Who mentioned this to me? And again, if you can tag me at IDGuy in the chat, I can catch up with a lot of an easier reference to see. Royal Oak Perpetual Calendar, white ceramic. The white ceramic, I think it's just nuts. I'll just pull that up. Royal Oak, white ceramic. I think it's so not understated at all in the slightest. It looks like the kind of watch you would wear on a tennis court, you know? How has this watch garnered such a lot of attention? I do ask the question why more brands don't incorporate ceramic into their into their watches, into their finishes, because it's a superb material. I like the fact that it's not steel, it's not reflective, and there's some amazing watches out there. The opposite of stealth, absolutely. It would be nice to see ceramic incorporated into other models. I've got a video on some Basel World predictions for this year. Should be a lot of fun. I had some fun with working out color schemes and layouts. Jeez, there's so much going on here. What's this? The cabriolet from Patek from Pilot Style. Let's pull that up. So this reference, again, if you're not following Craft and Tailored, leave this page right now and have a look at the channel, because he's just done a discussion on this piece and it looks so good on the wrist. The presence, so understated. Again, it's a 321 caliber. So with regards to stealth, does it get any better than this? Great segue. Really suggest you have a look at it. I think it's about 35 mils. I don't know the full extent. The 1599, I'm sure I've heard of this before, a long time before. What is that? I definitely haven't seen that. So it's some kind of Hunter case back. Oh, that's cool, right? Just a standard. So what, you would be able to engrave the inside? That is very interesting. I mean, I would imagine this was made in and around the time of, maybe, was this when they were experimenting with Cartier tanks and reversos, or was this quite a recent model? Very interesting Pilot Style. But again, not exactly understated. A little bit high polish and everything else. De Bethune Moon Phase. Oh, geez, we're kind of going against the whole. Let's see, De Bethune. And thanks for the super chat, Thomas. It's great to have you here, always. I'm sorry that I haven't. Oh, wow, this is slick. Would you call this understated? So De Bethune, what makes them so good are the lugs. I think the way they've done the lugs and the styling, insane. I love the balance, love the layout. Hardly understated, but just so cool. Let's see what else is going on. Don't drop the Royal Oak, as I mentioned. Okay, I'm going to scroll down and catch up with everyone else. The Lunga 101, Lunga 1 Darth, Richard Rota. So Tim, I don't know if Tim is still in the chat, but I think he's just picked up one of these pieces. It is such a killer watch. I think that's, you just call it Darth? Yeah, there we go. This watch is just stellar. Okay, talking about, we're going back to stealth. I like this. I like the fact that we're jumping back. He actually sent me, I think he's still in the chat. He's called Tim G on Instagram. He sent me a question linking this with the 1815 chrono and saying, did I make the right choice picking up this instead of 1815? And I think he pairs this with a Hulk Submariner. Amazing pieces. Oh, I just love it. I think that's just so cool. What do you think would be better, this piece or 1815? I'm more interested in the 1815 personally, but I just love it. I think it's so cool. Thanks, Dan. It's nice to talk about watches for a change, right? Breitling Top Time, that would be cool. I can pull that up now. Actually, I'll do it right now before engaging with the chat again. Awesome AP. But again, I think that the issue is it's just too flashy for what you're trying to be. Talking about understated. Breitling Top Time, and the reference is no reference. Another cool understated highlights. Love the accents. Oh, that Omega 321 caliber. I think it's so interesting. In a small, slim case. I mean, this is what you want for stealth. You have a brilliant movement in a understated dress piece. It's too cool. Christopher Day, thank you so much for the super chat. And Dan, thank you for your super chat, man. Really appreciate it. Grand Seiko Elegance, really cool. Fourth attempt, really, Chris. I'm sorry. You can see at the best of times, I struggle with getting references going. So let's try again. SBG K05. I hate Seiko references half the time. What a stellar looking piece. I love it. I think there's a few case designs that the Grand Seiko does really well, and this is one of them that I think is superb. Not necessarily stealth when we're talking about high polish and everything else. Let's try and get a face-up shot. But the finishing looks like Hodinkee had this up. Was this a special? It was a limited edition, as always. So sick of these limited edition watches that come out, and come and go. Look at that dial. Grand Seiko and their dial finishing is absolutely unreal. Rooted rotor. We mentioned the 1921 earlier in platinum. We had a look at that in the beginning of the show. I don't know, about 20 minutes ago or something. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's a time when I'm missing so many of these chats. They're all tagging me. Patek Philippe Sculpture. That sounds expensive. Zenith Lupin A384. Let's have a look at that. Can never go wrong with an A384. 84 Lupin. Let's have a look. How cool is that? Never seen this reference before. That is stellar. Is this another reissue that they've just brought out? So I don't know if you've been following the videos that have been coming out recently, but I made one reviewing Thomas Burnett's collection, and he is so interested in picking himself up a A384 revised. I don't know what they call it. Brand new. It's just been released. I think it would be a perfect choice. They're so cool. That case size, everything else, it's amazing. Really sick. There are so many. If I could show you my screen right now, there's about 15 of my name highlighted. So I'm going to try. I'm going to try and catch up with everything. Charles Frodsham wristwatch. Do they still do Frodsham wristwatches? Let's have a look. That's cool. And Sean, thank you for the super chat. And Laurent Ferrier micro rotor. Okay, let's pull up a Frodsham because that is a very impressive family. I didn't even know they still make watches. I thought it was a long. Let's see, Frodsham watch. Oh wow, wow! Look at that, stunning. Don't know. We're talking about stealth, so let's focus more on the white gold. There are some beautiful models. I mean, what are they? They don't call these brands. You don't call them. They're established brands, but they're more along the lines of an indie brand, right? They're not mainstream whatsoever. And I think that really does constitute a good stealth watch, is when it is quote unquote indie, not recognized by anyone. Even the watch community doesn't know. Really nice. Love the suggestion. Thank you, Sean. Who was it? No, it wasn't. Sean was the Laurent Ferrier. Andrew Owens. Nice suggestion. Again, please tag me in the chat if you want me to get to your watch, and I'll try my best. And Sean asks for Laurent Ferrier micro rotor. Laurent Ferrier makes some awesome stuff. And I love the way they do their cases and the hands and everything. It's stunning. Yeah, I think I really should have specified whether or not it was going to be a enamel dial. Get out of town. That is just so many watches, so little time. How cool is that reference? They do so many good things. That IDGuy hands, the high polish. I mean, that doesn't exactly fall under the realms of stealth, but no one knows what Laurent Ferrier is, you know? And there's the movement. I think this is the Galet. I don't know if this is the same reference, but this is a micro rotor, nice and offset. Look at that finish. It's just unreal. Beautiful watch. I think they've really hit the ball out the park. Depending on your reference, whether you want something with more fluid lugs or straight up down. I think the fluid lugs has a bit more of a pull. A Collected Man does the best photos on this space. I think that is Laurent Ferrier in its entirety. Gorgeous. Thank you so much for the suggestion, Sean, and for the super chat. It's awesome. Really cool. Only 8 of 12 Frodsham watches are made. Let's pull it up again. Is this the reference we're talking about from Tippy? Beautiful. I don't know if they're all hand finished or handmade, like Roger Smith. Jeez, you know, just when you think you're getting into the hobby and learning, so you miss out on a lot of things. They've always been known as one of the best London watchmakers for pocket watches. Been around a long time. The same time period as Breguet, when they were being established and working through. Amazing. I mean, I missed your super chat? No, can't have. Let's see. Moser Endeavor, center seconds. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. We're getting better. I'm starting to slow down, get into the pace. This ceramic AP is just a laugh. If they made it in black, it would make more sense. Actually, in gray, that would be awesome. Endeavor center seconds. So, as far as subtlety goes, excuse me, I wouldn't say they call these dials something. They call them fume dials, I think, if I'm not wrong. And doesn't exactly fall into the stealth sphere of things, but it is beautiful. And the fact that you can actually read the batons and everything is awesome. I'd love to get one of these watches. There's a few people on this channel who has a Moser watch in their collection. A few people who have Moser watches in their collection. Derek, thank you for joining us. Welcome. Mr. Perpetual, geez, there's a whole lot of new names joining that I haven't seen. It's great to have you all here. Thank you for joining. Okay, Bouvet 1930 from Batu. Let's have a look. Some awesome pictures. I love the resolution of some of these. So Bouvet is a very, very important piece. Very, important in the sphere. Oh, extremely understated. I think we've actually looked at this before. So they'd taken their inspiration directly from pocket watches that were transformed into wristwatches in the early 1900s. I love the case design, the way they've integrated the strap. Very, very vanilla watch for the most part. I'm sure we've talked about this before on the page. It's not a watch for everyone, that's for sure. Hardly call this stealth. This really, really isn't stealth whatsoever. You can pull out the Moser Endeavor again. I love the dials. The reason why you buy these models, it's one of the most sought after models in the Moser family. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And Igor mentions this 5296 sector. Okay, I'm going to, let's see. Oh, geez, I've just scrolled and I've just missed it. Okay, so I'm going to leave the Laurent Ferrier up. Let's get the Seiko and move on to the next. Love the dial finish on this piece, hardly understated. And this 5296 reference sector, I find this to be a very strange model. I really do. It's not something that appeals to me much. That's bad to say, because I love sector dials for the most part. I don't know what it is. Actually, I have a gripe. Come on, work with me, please. The Magic Mouse is really getting on my nerves tonight. The one big gripe I have with these Calatravas, I mentioned this earlier, is that they don't incorporate the Calatrava hands. Is that okay? They don't incorporate the Calatrava styled hands. These, what would you call them, leaf hands, look a little bit out of place. When you're dealing with such sharp detailing on the dial, like these batons, it's quite aggressive. I wouldn't say it's very subtle. You need some aggression in there. You need hard edges, shall I say. You need some sharp edges. And I think that's where, are they Dauphine styled hands? I think that sits a lot better with a reference like this. I don't know why the Calatrava seems to have adopted these hands so readily. A lot of references, even the 5170 chronographs, a lot of Patek references use these hands. I think it would be so much more effective if they used the standard Calatrava hands instead. So Christopher Day says, apologies for the long reference, but Orient Star retrograde. Whew, okay, let's pull that up now. I definitely won't be able to get that. Let's see, I'll try my best. Orient Star retrograde. We really try and be as diverse as possible. Wow, this is a nice, this is not an S, this is just a DE. SDE. Oh, geez, gonna get there. B0, I think. Is this really rose gold? I don't know. Let's see. What do we have? Well, if this was in steel, it would look pretty good. But again, the problem is when you're dealing with these references, a lot of the time you can't get high-res images and it sucks. A retrograde seconds watch is amazing. Oh, geez. No, there's no high-res at all. Apologies, guys. I have to pull away from the low-res stuff, or else it's just going to get completely tied up. Okay. Swiss Mad watch is understated. Is that the name, Tippy? Let's have a look. Never heard of that before. Oops. Apologies with the mouse work tonight. I have been pretty bad. Swiss Mad watch. Swiss made. Has to be Swiss made. Oh, I have seen these before. What? Hold on. The Moser, of course, with the Swiss cheese and everything. I remember this. And they used all sorts of things like cowhide, and they do some peculiar things, right? We're not going to look up the Franken watch and all of that. Moser does some peculiar stuff with their pieces. I mean, hardly call that understated. Clive officially claims refugee status. Welcome. You're welcome here, Clive. So Sean Lee says, I think I'm managing to keep up, kind of. Patek at their best when they do a lot of complexity with relative simple dial. Three-hander with busy dials just don't work for me. Yeah, it is. And we can go back to this 5296. The only thing that really bugs me about it is the use of these leaf hands. I think it would look so great with standard layout. I mean, it's a beautiful sector dial. Can't go wrong with it. And it is really understated. Talking about stealth watch, that's just it, man. No one in their right minds would know what it is. Is it very legible and easy to read? Leave that up to you. Extremely traditional in nature. Without numerals on the dial, does that bother you? Up to you. Okay, let's see what else is going on. It's nice that I'm managing to like keep up with everything. Eterna Contiki from Forbin Colossus. There's just such amazing watches on the screen right now. I don't want to get rid of them. I love this piece. Laurent Ferrier, look at that thing. Absolutely beautiful. Moser Endeavor, hardly understated and subtle. I'm sure there's some black dial variants, but I just love that explosion on the female dial. Bouvet 1930. Okay, this can go. This is just nuts. It's would not call it understated in the slightest. Eterna, let's see. Contiki. Contiki Tours. Oh, this is quite cool. It's cool that we pull up these bizarre and strange references. I like that. But this looks just like a Seawolf Zodiac. Speaking of which, I have a write-up on the Seawolf that I'm working on, along with everything else. Oh, wow, this is actually an original. So at the same time that the Seawolf was out, Eterna was making a similar case and a similar dial layout. It's interesting. Well, no, they probably outsourced their dials, you know. The G2100. Let's have a look. What reference is that? I'm guessing it's a Seiko, but I might be wrong. G2100. Casio. What? Is it a Casio? It's a G-Shock. Okay, getting there. So this is the Casio Oak. I don't know what people. No, it's not. This is just the hard and rough. Is this the redo of the original G-Shock? I don't know the full extent of where this watch came from. And I had an idea of making a series around redesigning or designing my own G-Shock. You know, using industrial design, actually getting there, posting drawings and stuff. That might be a lot of fun in the future. Don't know. The Breguet 7077. Always a fan of Breguet. Traditional. Oh, geez. Yeah, very stealth, very understated. I can see you wearing this and no one would be the wiser, right? Oh, it's just beautiful, though. Look at that balance. So it's got a balance. It's got twin balance. It's got two mainsprings, I'm guessing. Power reserve. It's just beautiful. This is not going stealth at all whatsoever. Okay. Constellation I saw for an Amiga. That would be cool. Let's have a look. Amiga Constellation. So we're kind of going against the grain with our understated, oh geez, not ladies' watches. 150, God, anniversary. I don't know what's going on. I'm so bad with these 150-year Q Maestro. You know, I wish I was better at reading chats and getting images up faster, but is that it? Very peculiar. I don't know if that is the reference, but I need to catch up with everything else. The 5177 Grand Faux. I think we had a look at that earlier. Chip Wong, opinion on the Whiskey Barrel watch. Let's have a look at that. Thank you for the super chat, Chip. Whiskey Barrel watch. Let's see. So I'm guessing this is a micro brand, and I'm guessing they used a original grain. So what, they used a whiskey barrel as reference, as inspiration. Maybe they used the finish. I don't know. Wooden watches. Great idea. Great idea to talk about. Wooden watches don't interest me in the slightest. Just, you know, you throw it on the fire and it's gone. It's a little bit nuts. You just see not on Classico. Another super chat from Sean. 5196p. I absolutely love it. We've had this on earlier. I don't think I've ever done so many references on one channel and in one live show before. In the past, it's been almost 2 hours at this point. With the Breguet numerals, it's just stunning. We chatted about it earlier. It's just beautiful. So cool. And N something, there's a suggestion earlier. Moritz Grossman Power Reserve. Let's have a look. When someone says great suggestion, I have to look it up. Love that dial. Okay, Moritz Grossman. I think that's how you spell it. Grossman. Let's see, have I missed the chat? Yeah, Power Reserve Vintage. Oh, it's beautiful. Just beautiful. I have seen this reference before. And there's lots of models within the line. I think this is the reference we're talking about here. So it seems like we focus a lot on dress watches tonight. It's pretty cool. Nice change of pace. And they're all very understated and low-key and pretty simple for the most part, unless you jump to the crazy, crazy pieces. Okay, Railmaster, there was a suggestion. We looked at that earlier. We've gone through practically everything, you know. It's insane. We've gone through so many references in the last 2 hours. Patek 5235. Let's have a look at that. 5235. What is that reference? I've heard of that before. 5235. I'm feeling it has some kind of... Okay. No, I haven't seen this before. I really haven't focused on this watch in the slightest. So what do we have? What does this have? Date. I've never seen this piece before. Love the finishing on the dial. It's kind of sector dial in the way. But I don't know what these two dials are. What's this 12 indicated for and the 60 seconds? I don't know what that is. Is that a second? Oh, okay. So your minutes are on the outside and your hours are on the inside. Pretty cool. Definitely a vanilla watch in the family. I don't know if a lot of people would gravitate towards this piece as a Patek goes. Still very cool. Is the steel Datejust considered stealth? Tippy says. The thing is, it's recognizable. We've actually managed to dance around watches that are fairly unrecognizable to most. I think that the Cyclops lens, as mentioned earlier in the chat, kind of gets in the way of that. People can easily see it, and you know, it's a problem. We're trying to stay, and there was a mention about the Polaris. Let's pull that up. I think the 5196, absolute stealth. It's really slick. JLC Polaris. Are there more references other than just the blue dial? There are. Very cool. Very simple, nice, easy layout. Don't know so much about the date complication. It would be nice to see the numeral carried across, but the Polaris is just one of those classics. Need to do a chat about this and the Memo Vox. There's just so much. You know, just when you think you're on top of it and you're doing something, so there's 50 other watches that you can talk about. Diesel 76 millimeter, super stealth. That's funny. I think we had a look at that Chevron platinum blue hands. Oh geez, I've actually managed to keep up with the chat for a change. It's quite nice. So again, let's what I'll do is I'll pull up the stealth checklist one more time and run through what qualifies as a stealth watch for those who've just arrived. This is a very good example, actually. Brushed metal surfaces, leather or rubber strap, white gold, titanium steel, simple layout, understated. This pretty much epitomizes what we want as a stealth watch, something under the radar that most people wouldn't know in the slightest. Very nice reference. This is a Memovox. Hold on a second. Isn't the Polaris isn't a Memovox, is it? Or am I just being, if I just run out of oxygen in my room, it is a Memovox. Jeez, that's just pure stupidity from my side. Look at that. That is a beautiful dial. It's a little bit overboard, not as understated and subtle, but just stunning. Oh no, what have I done? Just clicked on the link. Hold on. There we go, we're back. Stunning looking watch. Hardly understated, but I think it's just cool. Okay, I'm going to back off a little bit on the high, super crazy references, if possible. As much as I'd love to, it's quite tiring scrolling through and getting like really crazy pieces. So if you can, just keep to the simple references as much as possible. That would be greatly appreciated. Smith's Deluxe, that's a good suggestion, and that comes from Phil. This is a gorgeous piece. I need to chat. I think this week I'm actually going to prepare a Polaris discussion. Very good idea. And my mouse has given up on me. Here we go. Okay, Smith's Deluxe. So Smith's, another brand that I need to discuss at length in the future. It's amazing what this brand has done, and I'm pretty sure this was the Expedition watch. This is the watch that was worn up Everest. I think this exact watch, made in the 50s, or one that looks very similar to this. I don't know, Phil, if I've hit the nail on the head with this one, but this looks to be the reference that they used. So that is amazing history. We're talking about understated, cool, and under the radar. No one would know if this is the watch that went up Everest in the 50s. And for that reason, really sick. Love the needle hands, the layout, simplicity, basic. So cool. And Freddie Turner says, seconded for the Smiths, wearing one at the moment. Yeah, it really is nice. Dig it. Really cool. Thomas Burnett, super chat again, brother. Thank you. Patek 55, 39 minute repeated tourbillon. We looked at that at the beginning of the stream, didn't we? I think we did. So we've looked at a few of those references tonight. Yeah, we did. I'm pretty sure we looked at this earlier. Yeah. Or a similar reference to this. I don't think it had the Breguet styled lugs. And because it's got a tourbillon at the back, where's a good reference? Gee, some of these images, there's a good example. That's beautiful, right? That is just insane. Hardly call it stealth because it's got a blue. You see, that's another thing. How important is color with these pieces? Do you want a black dial? Do you want white dials? Or do you want something with a bit of pop? I think a blue dial might be pushing it a little bit too far. Not exactly subtle. Aquaterra, geez, that's also a great idea. So this Smith's Deluxe, stunning, really cool piece. And Omega Aquaterras in general, also very understated. Where do we start with Aquaterras? I think it would be nice to see their size and proportions adjusted slightly. Speaking of which, I have been working on a new video, or just a new thought process on the latest Omega Seamaster, the 42 mil. Every year they bring in that line, they normally bring out a mid-size variant. And I have a feeling that they're going to make a 36 variant of the new Seamaster. And I put some renders together of what I think it would look like. Even had a render of it on the wrist. It looks awesome. So I plan on doing that and preparing that very soon. It's a gorgeous watch. Thank you, Thomas, for the suggestion. I love this. It's an enamel dial. I was told that email on the base of the dial, I don't know if you can see it, means, I think it's French for enamel. So whoever mentioned that in the chat or wherever else back in the day, superb. Really appreciate it. It's great that we get to learn. Syringe hands. Oh, this is awesome. Lots of mentions. Philippe Dufour duality. Okay. I think we've gone to some high-end stuff tonight. We've really gone nuts. Let's see. Philippe Dufour duality. Very, very nice. Oh, that's stunning. Brilliant suggestion. Thank you. And this suggestion comes courtesy of Batu. Really cool. That to me is just pure elegance. It's so difficult when you have all of these watches on tap, you know? If you had all the money in the world, you get a Philippe Dufour, you get a Laurent Ferrier, you get a Maurice Grossman. There's just so many references within the family that you can choose, all the different families that all have these kinds of aesthetics that are so unique and interesting. You were thinking Rolex Cellini, Andrew Owen says. And have a look at that now. Really nice suggestion. Awesome. 1815 sidestep Vampire black dial. We've already looked at the 1815. I'll pull it up just now. Master ultra thin small seconds. James Conn. It's pretty understated for the most part. I think the size lets it down a little bit. Ultra thin. Let's just say if we pull up the ultra thin moon, we get a good example. I think the size kind of lets it down in a way. It's pretty big. I think it's 41 mils. Dress watches should stick in the ballpark of being between 30, 33, 36, 40 at a push. This watch does look a little bit hefty on the wrist. And in white gold or steel, it looks huge, right? I think that's the problem. Going back to the stealth aspect again, we want it to be something that really flies under the radar. I don't know so much. It's not really recognizable, which is cool. But in saying that, the presence kind of lets it down. Very big. 38.5 Aquaterra, stealth annual calendar. Oh, there's so much. Omega Railmaster. Yeah, it's really cool. Watches and giggles. We had a look at that at the very beginning of the show. Railmaster is a stellar looking piece. Love the sheer balance, the size, especially the 57. I think the 57 Trilogy Edition is awesome. Hamilton W10 from Tippy. That's cool. Jeez, it's just nuts. There's just so many watches, so many references. Hamilton W10, I think, is one of the best buys you can get at the moment for reissues. I love that they've added texture to the dial. I mean, field watches fall under the stealth scheme so easily. I mean, it really ticks all the boxes. Understated, doesn't attract attention. If I just pull up the checklist again, understated, doesn't attract attention, kind of obscure, very subtle, makes enthusiasts think. Only the real enthusiast would know that it's a W10, that it was issued to the British Armed Forces in the 70s or the 60s. What was it? The late 60s, early 70s. And I can't even remember my history. They gave the movements to CWC, I think. It's just awesome. And there's mention about Creedor from Sean. A couple of people have mentioned Creedor. Let's have a look. JLC 3839. I'm just catching up. 5157. We've had a look at a couple of those already tonight, or this morning, wherever you are in the world. Let's see what else is going on here. It's so hard to keep up. Oh, geez. Amiga Alaska project. Not sure it's stealth, but it's clean and simple. Let's pull up the Alaska project. So I've been working on a really cool discussion all about the Mark II. And yeah, you can't call this watch stealth in the slightest. But I really like the story behind this watch. Come on, give me a high-res picture. So it's not exactly stealth, but it doesn't exactly look like a Speedmaster to even the enthusiast. You know, they struggle in knowing what this model is. And I'm just catching up with the chat while I talk. I think I've actually managed. So Rico, thank you for the suggestion. This is great. So I've been working on a write-up on the Mark II Speedmaster. And it's been so nice going into the background behind the Project Alaska and what it meant and what happened and how NASA didn't adopt this format or the idea, but they took the inspiration from the Alaska and they translated it into the Mark II. It's a great development. So that video will be coming out not this week, but the following week, Thursday. I leave my write-up videos for Thursday at this point. So they basically took the idea of this cushion-style case, translated it into the Mark II Speedmaster, which we can pull up. Why not? I think the Mark II is quite an unsung hero. That is just stellar. So this was a reissue that they did a few years ago. It's just awesome. I hope to do more discussions around this piece in the future. I think this is too typical for a Speedmaster. It's because the dial looks just the same. And what really made the Mark II stand out was this dial layout. Let's pull it up again so I can catch up with the chat. I love this. It's just pure late 60s, 70s cool. Should be a lot of fun. So look forward to that. That should be coming up in the next week or two. Snoopy Speedmaster. That's cool. The thing is, though, it looks like a Speedmaster for the most part. The only real difference is the white dial. I think the Alaska project is unique enough to be a watch in itself. Very understated. This doesn't look like a Speedmaster at all to the average person. Even the enthusiast would have a hard time finding this to look like a Speedmaster. And what really made this reference so cool was the racing dial. The racing dial developed a character all to itself. And I focus on that a little bit in the discussion, looking at just how the racing dial has been so instrumental in the 70s and the 80s for chronographs, adopted by so many brands. Not just chronographs, just watches in general, sports watches. And the Creedor, okay, let's have a look at this. Creedor Aichi 2. Don't know if I said that right. So these Creedor references, I need to study up on this a lot more, but this is a really high-end, let's get a good picture. These are just super high-end watches from the Seiko family, if I'm not wrong. And it basically is their high-end developmental team. They have enamel dials, I think, super high-end movements, very understated. It gives me that Piaget feel, right? Citizen, Piaget, they all have that similar kind of layout with the way they've done the batons and everything. Great suggestion, Cheeton. There's a couple of people who've asked about the Creedor tonight. Another cool thing about the Speedmaster is the case. It's the same as the one George Daniel put in the first. Oh, really? Put the first coaxial in? That's awesome. Orange Hand. I really look forward to doing it. It's, sometimes a write-up really engulfs me, gets me engaged. And this one definitely has. I wouldn't call this stealth, though. This dial is a little bit bright, a little bit expressive. If we pull up our checklist again. Brushed surfaces, yes. Leather rubber strap, no. Steel, cool. Simple layout, not at all. So it's hardly understated. I think what they did so well was the case design. The way that they had arranged the case, being this single block of steel, really streamlined. And in the discussion, I say it's a pity that NASA didn't adopt this, because it looks like a watch that should go to space, really cool. So that's been good. Nice discussion around that. Philippe Dufour. It's just crazy. We've had Credo was a hard name. It's a strange name, right? It doesn't feel like a watch at all. I don't know what it means. I don't know what the name falls under. It's just awesome. Porcelain, not enamel. Thank you, Leia. So it's a porcelain dial. And I would imagine that this is all hand painted on. There's so much detail. Extremely understated, though. So it is for a certain person who's interested. Jeez, we've really gone through a lot tonight. It's insane. I don't know. I think what we'll do is we'll chat for another 15 minutes or so and call it an evening or morning, wherever you are. This has been a good chat, though. How about the Patek 5110J? So that's the yellow gold wall time, I'm guessing. And that's thanks to our man who mentioned this here. Oops, I missed your chat. I missed the name. Sorry. The chat likes to have a mind of its own at times. I think it'll look better in G for this situation. That is stellar. I actually prefer this watch in white gold. How cool does that look? The thing is, though, the whole complication gets in the way of the time reading. I think the size of the hands and the dial, it's a bit of a problem. Difficult to read at times, but this is beautiful. I think white gold, the brown strap and everything, this is really understated cool. Come on, one more hour, please. Clive, I've actually exhausted myself going through this. I did not realize just how much watch chat we were going to have at this point in time. I'll see how it goes. Another 15, maybe 20 minutes. I like to keep these in and around 2 hours if I can. But this has been good. Geez, we've really had an explosion of watches this evening or this morning, wherever you are. So Tippy, you're talking about Breguet 5157s. So I'm guessing those are the Marines. No? Are they? I'm not very good at my Breguet references at all. I have a hard time, it's just a classique, of course. I have a hard time with Breguet references, like Patek references for the most part. So this watch, we need it if we want stealth, we want white gold. But I think the Guilloche on the dial kind of kills it in this classification. I mean, here's one with the power reserve. I think the Guilloche is a bit of a problem. It's a little bit too expressive if we're talking about stealth under the radar. But then they're just stellar watches. They're absolutely stunning. The suggestion from Tiger about the Oyster Band 16718. Let's have a look at that. I haven't looked at much Rolex tonight. I haven't looked at any Rolex tonight. How cool is that? We began the show discussing the Explorers being great understated pieces, but we haven't actually looked at other. That's great. Nice change. Nice change of pace. So let's see, 16718. Oyster Flex. Let's see, Oyster Flex. I've seen this watch being worn by a popular, I think James Martin, the popular chef, wears this. This watch to me, really doesn't feel coherent in the slightest. Great suggestion by Tiger. I don't think this watch has much coherence, personally. You can't read the thing. You've got black on brown, which is extremely difficult to read at a glance. If they had just kept batons instead of numerals on the dial, it would have been a lot easier to read. But in this current format, I don't find it attractive at all. There's some gorgeous rose gold. I'll just pull up, let's see, rose gold Daytona. And I'm sure there's some more references on, I mean, just this, for example. This is a better example. Hardly, but you want white gold. Let's just say white gold Daytona and see what we get. But again, the problem is these watches are so easily recognizable. That's the issue. We're trying to go against that as much as possible when we're talking about stealth and understated. The thing it has going for it is the Oyster Flex strap. But the layout, you just know it's a Daytona, so it's a problem. AP non-Royal Oak stealth watch. Let's pull up that reference. 5296 sector. Again, we're returning back to that. It's a cool piece. Just wish they fixed those hands. Those hands need to be Calatrava styled hands. Still, cool looking watch. So the next suggestion is 26100 BC. Oh, stellar. Great suggestion. Who was this? This was Carassus. What a cool looking piece. So, surprisingly, AP also makes dress watches. This looks like it's been a photograph taken from a screen. This is on Joma Shop, can you believe? AP makes some great looking dress watches too. Sadly, they've been overshadowed by the Royal Oak. The whole family is just Royal Oak centric. And we can talk about the code 1159 if we want. I mean, since we are talking about AP, might as well pull it up. Code 1159, 911, code 11. Oh, what have they done, man? Yeah, this watch, it's amazing when almost the entire community, excuse me, when the entire community rises up and says, no, we're not interested in this piece. It's very seldom that happens. So what we can say, I've seen this watch in the flesh. We can say what's great about it is the case. The case and the dial just don't work well together. But the case itself, the finishing, just the sheer amount of attention to detail that went into this piece, insane. But the way they've done the dial, it looks like a Hugo Boss model. Oh, it's a GMT with an oyster band. Okay, let's have a look. How did I get that wrong then? Didn't I get the reference right? Let's see. If I just type in GMT, Oyster Flex, maybe that'll work. Of course not. Actually, speaking of which, the Yachtmaster is pretty stealthy, but then again, it looks like a Submariner, so you got a problem. So then if you are talking about a GMT, then we have a problem because it's an easily recognizable watch in the family. And we've tried our best to stay away from this style. That's why I stuck to the Explorer for the most part. I think we want to, talking about stealth again, needs to be unrecognizable to the enthusiast. That's why I thought the Speedmaster Mark II might be a cool mention instead of the standard. So yeah, there's some mention about the 1159. Should have been relegated from the Holy Trinity for that. Yeah, I mean, they could have done some amazing things with this watch. You can see that there has been a lot of effort put into so many details. Let's get a better res image. I just want the time only. Here we go. You can see that a lot of details being put into it, but geez, the execution in the end, it's a flop. And it's very seldom that you can call an AP a flop. And I think this is one of the first times I've mentioned this in a stream or anything before. What did they do? You know? Okay, Tudor Heritage Ranger. That's cool. Patek 5095. Yeah, okay. We're going to keep up. Going to do a few more, at least. But we've gone through so many. I can't believe how nuts this evening has been tonight. Once again, it's this evening, this side. Got very understated. Of course, this is probably the most high-end watch that you can get from the family. It is actually very sleek. I'm not so much of a fan of the windows. I've said this in earlier streams before. I think a dress watch should emphasize the use of hands on their dials. So having a separate hand, like the 5212, having a separate hand to look at the day, the date, the month, I think is awesome. But it's a beautiful watch. Again, it is very understated. Oh, it's so killer. The complication behind this piece, you know, amazing. Giuseppe chronometer, really cool. I need to actually like make a bookmark and look at this brand in more detail because they produce some insane stuff. I can't even pronounce it. Giuseppe. How do you call that a watch brand? How do you know the name? I've actually struggled. I've been wanting to find this watch a lot, and I've struggled to pull one up because I just can't for the life of me remember the name whatsoever. Okay, catching up with everyone else. Talking about the oyster quartz. Oyster quartz is pretty cool. The Gallet. Mr. Perpetual, geez, thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. Always, I mean, I love our engagement on the comments and videos. Seamaster 300, alternative to Bluesy. Okay, let's have a look. Seamasters and their references, you know, just Omega and their references. Someone actually asked me the other day, what can you recite Omega references off by heart? And I don't think many people can. 42, 20.03, it's just nuts. I think that's enough. So this is the two-tone. You could have just said blue dial two-tone. I probably would have got it. This is the reference, right? So talking about this reference again, I mentioned this a while ago. Okay, I'm going to speed this up. Seamaster, blue dial, two-tone. Google is so like pedantic with its references. So I'm going to be putting some renders together of a 36mm variant for this piece, a mid-size, that I think looks so good. I've actually managed to get it scaled onto someone's wrist in a photograph. Looks so cool. The 42mm size goes both ways. It's either way too big or just right. For the average person, I mean, someone like me with, you know, 6.5 to 7 inch, I'd say 6.75 as my max. This watch would just look like a tank on the wrist. Great, it's a great piece though. I mean, the price that Omega offers these pieces at, it's very impressive. It's extremely impressive. But again, understated, don't know so much. I think it's a little bit mad. This, on the other hand, even though it's a world time Patek, it's insane. Neo, thank you as always, man. Thank you. Let's refer back to this. I don't even know how to pronounce it. I need to look up this and study this a lot more. Actually, I'm going to do a video about this week. I'm going to bookmark this for myself. Rigzepi. Don't know how to pronounce it at all. It's not English. I don't know. It's so unique, and it's down to this dial, this layout on the dial. Look how they've arranged. I mean, it's insane. How can we better see it? I think this layout, maybe I can get a full screen of one watch. No. 6,000 pixels, and it can't give me a good full screen. So it's hardly understated in gold. But look how they've arranged the dial with this line. It's bold at the front, and then it gets recessed over here. So on either end, you've got recessed, and then filling this triangle space, you've got them actually pushed outwards. Very interesting. I really like the layout because it manages to be simple enough, but unique enough to look appealing. I've been chatting about a few dials that I really didn't like earlier. I think this is very unique to the family. Very, very interesting. It looks almost like an Aztec style. I don't know. It doesn't look like it's from this time period. Look at that movement. Jeez. Hamilton Otis, Smith's Vanguard. Thank you for holding your liquor and not screaming profanities. Yeah, Cheetown, I try. Haven't had much tonight. I had a very weak Shiraz. Hasn't been the best. South African Shiraz as well. Fears, Midas. Great suggestion, Tippy. Let's have a look at the Fears watches. So I need to study up this watch. Really do. So Fears watches. Fears is a very old school company. What is all these other... dear me. Apologies, everyone. The Wi-Fi is bothering me here. Steel. So Fears watches. Fears as a brand, it's been around for a long time, and they've just recently recreated their pieces. And look at that. How cool is this? I don't know what the price is for these, but they are very attainable. Love the layout. Love the cushion case. I don't know about the size and the presence. Still very cool. Under the radar, subtle. It's just insane. We've really been going mad tonight with the chats, right? I don't think I've ever discussed so many watches in a single sitting. Really nice watch from AP. Breguet numerals wins all the time. Could actually ask the question, have the numerals been overdone? That's something. Reverso Duoface. Okay, let's have a look at that. Jeez, yeah. I'm going to be closing up shop for the day, I think, very soon, because it's been insane. Like this room has probably tripled in temperature as I've been in here. So the Reverso Duoface, I think, is a little bit too bright and excessive for being a stealth under the radar watch, but still cool. Chanel Monsieur. Let's have a look at that. Oh my goodness. Where do I start? You know, it's like I just see my name in orange everywhere, and I got to just scroll and pick out stuff whenever and wherever. Smith's Vanguard. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tone it down, and we're going to, okay, now we're going to close up shop basically in the next 15 minutes. Give me all the suggestions of some really great watches that you think everyone would be interested in seeing in this closing call. Really put some thought into the final watches for being stealth, understated. Again, filling in the criteria one more time for those of you who've just joined or whatever else. Possibly brushed matte surfaces, leather rubber strap maybe, white gold titanium, simple layout, understated, and just a few more suggestions, and then we can close up for the show. This has been good though. We've gone nuts. Let me pull up this again. Oyster Band, not Oyster Flex. Again, Tiger, if we're talking about GMTs, it's a recognizable piece in the family, and it's a bit of an issue. The problem is, oh, I see. Okay. So it's all gold. See, the issue is now I can't find one with an Oyster Band. So this is just the standard rupiah, is it? But then we're talking about gold. Really want to keep it as low-key and understated as possible. Okay, I'm going to try and catch up with all of these now and see if we can... Zin Darkstar, okay, that's a good one. We haven't talked about Zin at all tonight, actually. It's pretty bad. Zin Darkstar, great reference to talk about. Very cool. So this is Rake's latest model. I don't know if this is the only one, the only Darkstar in the family. It's a recreation piece for Revolution magazine. Final vote, Patek 5212. Okay, let's do that one more time. Dig it. What else? Longines, actually, let's look at a Longines Heritage Classic. One of my favorite watch releases from last year, end of last year. Simply gorgeous. Next, another suggestion. I think the 5110 in white gold looks absolutely amazing. Founder Timeless Capital, welcome. We've been doing this for 2 hours. It's been nuts. I've never mentioned so many references before in my life. I'd actually knocked the ever-living SHIT out of me tonight. So we're going to keep going, see how it keeps going. So everyone, if you can, suggest a reference that you really think would be good. One reference that's awesome that I could pull up in the last few tabs. I think this piece, and again, falls into the criteria of a stealth watch, simple layout, possibly understated, makes enthusiasts think, I really like this. The 5110G really stands out to me. Let's have a look. The Breguet 7097. Let's have a look at that. 97 from Breguet. So it's also traditional. Oh, geez. Yeah, this is so understated, so low-key and stealth. Railmaster. Okay, Railmaster's good. Let's pull that up. I think that's a much better suggestion. And I love the 57. I tried on a original Railmaster from 58. And it was one of my favorite watches. That and a Lange Datograph, my two favorite watches of the evening when I tried them. Geez, there's so much. Neo, thank you so much for the super chat. Just seeing if anyone else. Longines is a stealth brand. I think there's some amazing. Longines does some of the best heritage reissue pieces in the family, in the watch group. They do some great stuff. I look forward to discussing the Seamaster in more detail. I've done a couple of renderings. 5320G. I've heard of this before. Oh, awesome. So it's got this cream dial. This has gained a lot of traction. People are very keen on this model. I so look forward to next week's show. Actually, I'll pull up the Live 5 again and show you what's on the cards. Next week, I'm talking about on Tuesday, prepare for a video on Patek Split Time. This is just so cool. It's a reference 5959. If you catch up with the stream again in the beginning, you might need to wait for a few hours for the stream to make up its 2-hour mark. Sometimes it has a delay. Patek reference 5959, amazing piece. And on Thursday, we're talking about the Seiko Alpinist. and just what Seiko has managed to do with recreating the line. So that should be cool. Really nice week prepared. There's been so much. I've been preparing so many videos on the side, whether it's, oh dear, super high res image. There's been a lot of preparation going into JLC. I've done 1 or 2 Rolex videos, but trying to diversify as much as possible. Okay, more references. Let's see what else we could pull up. Cellini, oh my goodness, Zenith Elite. Richard Lang, Paula Marit. Okay, Thomas Burnett. That's awesome. I think that's what we're going to finish with. Last reference. I'm going to open up a new tab for it. Richard Lange, I haven't discussed at all. And it's sad because I did do a video on Lange, but missed out on the Richard. And I think that was because I was more focused on the 1815 line. Is this the Paula Marit? I think it is. Let's just have a look at the description. Yeah, it is. Oh, it's just beautiful. Lange. If I had all the money in the world right now, a Lange & Söhne and Patek, I would be jumping on. Yeah, let's go with black dial, because why not? And apologies, I think my Wi-Fi has been having a bit of a slow evening tonight. Okay, let's see. Tim, thank you for being here. I don't know if you heard, but I mentioned your Lange 1 that you were talking about. It's so cool. Love it so much. Almost dinner time. Yeah, it's amazing. The world, everything's happening at once. Okay, so we are going to keep this show coming to an end. I'm not going to mention any more pieces. I think we've been going nuts this evening or this morning. So, last few watches for the show. The Zin Dark Star, collaboration with Revolution Watch. I think it manages to hit all of those points that we wanted from a watch like this. Military inspired, very heritage focused. We have the needle hands, sword style arrow, lovely layout. Very much like the, what's the model? The Blancpain Air Command, very similar in that layout. Don't know so much about the faux patina. Again, if you haven't seen that, it's a video that I put out earlier this week, talking about faux patina and whether or not brands are overdoing it too much. Really cool though. Awesome reference. The 5212, we chatted about it earlier in the show. It is really understated. I don't know if it falls into our category of stealth so much, but for Patek, it's really a stealth Patek in many ways. Brushed surfaces, no, polished. But of course, the dial is very complicated, but it just doesn't look like a Patek, you know? Awesome. Tippy asking, what if we make a video together? I can write about the movement. For sure. I mean, a lot of the time, a video normally takes about 8 hours to prepare, depending on whether it's a write-up or more of a general discussion. And a lot of that time goes into the actual development, the studying behind the history, and I try and timeline as much as possible. So really cool. The 5212, awesome watch. I really wish they didn't have a date window or that it matched the color of the dial. It would be nice if they continued the idea of having hands extended out around the dial. Really nice though. Even though it's so like crazy, it is understated. Final Time Capital has this piece. I look forward to seeing it, James. It would be an absolute pleasure to have this in my hands. What a gorgeous watch. Steel, super collectible. I mean, anyone who knows anything knows that this watch is going to be a collectible in the future. Longines Heritage Classic. I think this is so stellar. I kind of wish they kept the size a little bit lower down. 39, I think this reference is 39 mils. The original was 33 mils. That's a bit excessive. But I wore an Omega from, I think it was about the late 40s, about 49, and it was sized at 38 mils. And it wore really big on the wrist. So interesting in knowing the perspective on this piece as the years go by. I just love it. I think it's one of the cleanest. Look at that. How can you not like this watch? We're talking about understated cool. That is so under the radar. It's awesome. Really stellar. I think it's great. So let's see. I'm just catching up with the chat as I'm slowing down. I'm actually winding down. We could catch up with a few things. Sorry you're late, Carl. It's okay. We've been going for way over 2 hours, and I've never mentioned so many references before. It's insane. We've chatted about so much. Nobody out of our community has a clue about what Patek is anyway. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I am by no means an expert whatsoever. I'm by no means learned. I would love to study more about it and get into understanding the movements a lot more as time goes by. Ashmore saying 8 hours. Yeah, I honestly, the writing, if it's not writing, it's the recording. If it's not the recording, it's the editing. And if it's not that, then it's researching into the watches. I try and be as concise as possible with the information to make the video not like 30 minutes long, to keep it abbreviated. But sometimes the research can take a lot of time. Just for the Alpinist, it's taken me all week to prepare the Seiko Alpinist video because I've gone into looking at all of the references through the 60s, briefly highlighted them. It's very cool. It's very rewarding because you get to understand just where the inspiration and the influences come from with more detail. Everything about design is relative to history and development. And so Freddie says that he has this reference. Yeah, it's so cool. Aquanaut World Timer. We chatted about the Aquanaut earlier on, and it is one of the winners of the stealth class for sure. Even though it's so overhyped, overrated for the most part, especially the price. I mean, the prices of them are just stupid. It's a stellar watch for what you want. Stealth wealth. All the wine runs out eventually. That's funny. Shazbot, great having you here. We've been going nuts tonight, talking about so many references. Have we discussed the Streamliner? Yes, we have in the beginning of the show. Lots. I can't actually think the life of me. We've actually covered a lot of dress watches, barely any Rolex, which is amazing. The only Rolexes we've talked about are the Explorer 1 and Explorer 2, and that's it. And the Voltalin Vlingt, oh geez. But Batu, I think I'm going to back off on the references. This is me for the night. There's only a few more here. So there's so much. It's nice that everyone's like slowing down. It's great. So next, Railmaster 57, balance, proportion. I think the watch is a little bit highly polished. If I pull up the checklist again, I think it's a bit too bright for being this understated stealth watch. But again, who knows what this watch is? It's not an Explorer. We chatted about the Blancpain Aqualung earlier. Really cool piece. It's just amazing. Movement is important, yeah, Tippy says. I do need to cover movements more in future videos, for sure. Jeez, yeah, it's mad. So I think my next everyday watch, the Streamliner, Founder Times Capital. Hell, I'd love to get my hands on that piece too. I really find it interesting. What's crazy is that the community seems so divided. It seems very 50-50. And James, I was drinking a Shiraz, South African Shiraz, and not the best, very light, quite fruity. I like rich wines. Rich red wines are my forte. So this is the reference 5320, cream dial, quite polarizing. I don't know who this watch really appeals to, if it's the enthusiast. It has a lot of military-inspired details, wouldn't you say? All it lacks is a telemeter scale, and you have a field watch for the most part, you know? It kind of has that field watch chronograph styling. I wonder if I'm sure there are references that have incorporated this layout as a chronograph. There's a couple of them out there. But we will get into that in the future as time goes by. I'm constantly sitting here working on write-ups, and it's nice. What I've worked out is that I have a discussion video on a discussion video on a Tuesday and a write-up on a Thursday. That allows me some ample time and space to actually get the write-ups done while also getting videos out on more diverse things. I'm still on. Yeah, Rico, welcome. We've actually, I've passed my time that I wanted to be on for. Okay, well, the last watch for the evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world, is the Richard Lange Pour le Mérite. And there's just something about this layout of being, we've chatted about so many dress watches tonight, it's mad. And all of them adopt this simple aesthetic, whether it's subdials, whether it's black on black, whether it's high polish brush, I don't know. We've kind of gone against the stealth in a few places, but there's some amazing references out there. And I think one of the important things about a stealth watch is that it makes enthusiasts think. So when you're wearing this watch, no one would know what this is at a glance, right? Unless you really know that it is a Lange by the case design. But even the most hardy enthusiasts, the ones who've been doing this for a long time, might stop for a moment and say, is that a Laurent Ferrier? Is that a, all sorts of references. Is that a Breguet? Who knows? Really interesting, though. I think there's a couple of bits and pieces that give away the Lunga aesthetic, like the hands, the case, of course. But it's just nuts. We've been going for 2.5 hours. Hasn't felt like 2.5 hours, but I am poked. It's been nuts. I can't believe, I really, like I said in the beginning, I made a mistake not highlighting whether it should be a stealth dress watch or stealth sports watch. And I kind of shot myself for that reason. But we've had a great discussion. Apologies if you've missed it, everyone, but there's always a catch up. You'll only be able to see the first or the last 2 hours of the stream. And then as it develops, the live stream will develop, you will see the 2.5 hour span. It's very good. We had quite a diverse discussion tonight, and it was nice change of pace. I want the new 50th anniversary Lunga first quarter watch budget is blown, Founders Times Capital. There's so many pieces in the Lunga family that I would love to see and own. Really, if I had all the money in the world, that would be where it'd be going towards. So unique and different. But that's been us. I think what I'm going to do, and I see a super chat from Thomas Burnett. Oh, it's such a pleasure, man. Thomas, you are such a legend. And I'm going to reply to your email. Gave me a nice lengthy email earlier. We've had a great show. So what I'm going to do, as always, I'm going to pull up the stop screen share and just thank you all personally for joining. It's been a crazy week. I've been super busy, and it's been great talking about such a variety of watches, not only on the stream, but in general, preparing new videos. There's so much variety out there, and I'm learning slowly but surely to balance my time out so that we can look at so many more diverse things. I'm actually surprised the Moser video didn't get more attention, because it is, I find, a very unique watch in the family. You'll see, maybe over time people will grow on it, but a lot of fun. You guys have been great. Thank you all so much for joining in. Really appreciate it. I won't shout out all your names because the chat's just mad. There's so much going on, but really all of you who've been here, it's always a pleasure. And Tanku, welcome. Happy Lunar New Year, of course. Of course, you guys have just celebrated New Year on the other side of the world. Orange Hand, I love your name and your avatar. I think that's awesome. And Neville, there's a whole load of you guys that I haven't seen in the chat tonight, but as always, it's a pleasure. Chip and Jay Sykes, you've been here the whole time. Pleasure. Thank you for joining. Chip Wong, I would do 30 more minutes, but my time, I like doing it 2.5 hours. I think that's just enough for this period. And Tom Austin, we chatted about the Swiss Alp watch, and it should be in the beginning of the stream after this. So just remember, what happens is it only allows, once the stream's finished, you'll only see the first 2 hours of the stream. And if you wait until, I don't know, 2 hours from now, or maybe 3 hours from now, or tomorrow, for example, you'll have the full stream to look at. And we go through so many references tonight. It's absolutely nuts, actually. Yeah, I'm exhausted. Carlos, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the super chat. You've all been great. So that's the plan. Put my feet up. I'm going to hit the hay. That's me for the night. Everyone, once again, thank you so much for joining. It's been an absolute pleasure. And as always, new videos Tuesday and Thursday. I'll see you in the next one. We'll have a great stream next weekend. I hope to come up with another topical idea, maybe more dress watch focused. And we'll have fun as always. So thank you again, everyone. See you in the next one. Cheers for now.